The Ice Princess, Haku. When Haku regained her sight, she found herself standing in the middle of a forest. The sky was orange, the sun was vanishing, and a very little village was standing a bit away. The place was silent and peaceful. A settlement, Zabuza snorted. It barely qualifies. Told you I would try, Kazama pointed out. And we are near habitations. You. The shout attracted everyone's attention. Haku immediately recognized the person, a blonde teen clad in orange robes. He was pointing his finger accusingly at the Yuki. You killed me. The lady's mind ceased to work for a few seconds, just like everybody. I beg your pardon, she asked to the teenage Naruto, his blue eyes piercing her soul. You killed me, he repeated, with your beauty. He showed her a bouquet of flower that popped up in his hands. I do not know what I did to you, but thank you for giving me such punishment. Please, what is your name? You, Haku. His blue eyes began to shine like stars, and the background turned pink. The scene was downright surreal, and probably the result of a genjutsu. Well, sweet Haku, he said, would you like to take a ride on the Naruto Express? The entry is free, no worry. And then, he put his hand on her ass. 1, 2, 3. As red as a tomato, she slapped him so hard he fell on the ground. The genjutsu broke, returning the world to normal. The new Naruto touched his red cheek with a smile. A woman with character, I like that. The shadow of Zabuza covered him, Haku's master cracking his fingers menacingly. I think I will opt for crucifixion, he whispered darkly. Heck, no. Another voice shouted, as a man in red descended from a tree. I still need him for my research. He's my disciple, my muse, my inspiration. Naruto Uzumaki, the heir of the great super pervert sage, Jiraiya. The old man grinned, while adopting a nice guy pose, his teeth reflecting the sun like mirrors. And, to be honest, your daughter is smoking hot. She must have taken a lot from her mother, right? The snake. Orochimaru opened his eyes, only to see darkness. He couldn't feel his limbs, and he couldn't move his lips. Where am I? He wondered, remembering his showdown with Kazama. What did he do to me? As expected, he overpowered you. He passed this test perfectly. Orochimaru tried to blink, but failed. The voice was everywhere, cold and mechanical. Who? Oblivion, power, eternity. I have many names, but only one goal, the thing. Replied emotionlessly. You have served your purpose very well. I am a bit disappointed for the reasons behind Uzumaki Naruto's use of my gift, but the will is there. I only have to redirect it. Orochimaru felt something dwelling into his thoughts, like a drill. Now, it is time for you to know the peace of non-existence. A second later, Orochimaru began to lose everything. His memories vanished, his knowledge was consumed, his very being was devoured. He tried to scream, but he couldn't. He didn't know how to do it anymore. Then, nothing. Omake. Spandex world. Warning. Madness ahead. Sane people. Close your eyes. When Haku opened her eyes, the first thing she did was regret doing that. Yash. A Naruto with huge eyebrows, a bowl-like headdress, and wearing a horrible orange spandex suit shouted happily. Visitors. I see it, my admired rival. A Uchiha with a Sharingan, the same hairdo, even larger eyebrows barked. He was wearing a blue spandex suit. Lee-chan. Yes. A girl in green spandex screamed happily, jumping between the two guys. She looked like a black-haired male with the same horrible hairs and eyebrows of her teammates, except that her lips were red and big. Welcome. Yash, guys. A Kakashi appeared, his hair and eyebrows the same as the monsters before them, and wearing a purple spandex suit. We are Team Guy. Prepare for training. The Uchiha exploded in Haku's ears, almost making her deaf. Prepare for fighting. The girl continued. A twilight genjutsu formed behind them. This is a nightmare, the same Kakashi muttered, shuddering. This is a fucking nightmare. To protect the world from laziness. The spandex Naruto continued. To unite all people within our coolness. The insane Kakashi added. Is it hell? Both Chibaku and Zabuza asked at the same time. Sasuke. Lee. Naruto. Kakashi. Yes, Kazama replied, massaging his temples. Yes it is. Beware you pervert horrible blight. Team Guy kicks ass at the speed of the light. And then, the four adopted a freaking team pose, the sun shining behind them. So welcome to Konoha. At this moment, Haku realized that, indeed, they were in a hidden village, with 5 visages shaped on a mountain. And one looked disturbingly like an adult version of Lee. Smiling, Kakashi, the sane one, screamed out of his lungs. No. Off. Chapter 19. Troubled Times. We are all standing here to remember recent events. Mabui began to speak, the crowd listening to her in silence. They were all wearing black, and watching a large stone, with names carved on it. This day shall be engraved in our memory, as both a tragedy and the beginning of a new era of peace. She stared at the horizon, where the vault had fallen, never to rise again. The symbol of Kumo's invincibility has fallen, taking down our beloved Raikage, to death and destruction. The thunder has struck, and our land has shattered. Blood was shed, and we trembled. Fire burned the earth, but out of the ashes of the old Kumo, we emerged. She touched the names carved in the rock. Our beloved Raikage, who despite his flaws, simply wanted Kumo to be strong and respected. Naruto Yatsuki, alias Naruto Uzumaki, our honorable guardian that loved this country so much. Yugito Ni, our friend, our pride, who died as she lived, in a spark of blue fire. As she continued to recite the names, Mabui thought about the firework that was seen from the vault, as the fortress crashed. She knew the meaning behind this display of power, but Yugito's disappearance could only mean that she had left for another world, perhaps the one from which their visitors had come from. The Kunoichi would probably never know. Now that a ceasefire had been proposed, unhindered by the warden, no, Orochimaru, the fourth great shinobi war would end very soon, and peace would be finally established. It would be a difficult one, no doubt, yet it was worth the price. Mabui was fairly confident the new Raikage would be a just man, and open to reason and advice. Now, let us celebrate the ascension of our new leader. She shouted to the crowd, as they cheered for a man in white robes. Welcome our Godime Raikage, Killer Bee. Thank you all. He shouted, suddenly serious. Don't be in denial. I shall be a good leader, just as I am a good rapper. Just about everyone cringed at that, and Bee laughed. Behind this mask of everlasting joy, Mabui knew that the man had been devastated by his brothers and his disciples' death. He had cried when he had learned they had died. Only she had witnessed it, being his last closest friend, and the Kunoichi was shocked, if not disturbed, by B's ability to hide his pain. The sad part was that he had done it so many times it had become an automatism. Yugi, Mabui thought, as she promised herself to watch over B and Kumo in the blonde's absence, I hope you are happy, wherever you are. The cat, Yugito. Jiraiya's house was huge, so much so that it could almost be called a mansion, and from the outside, it looked like a big hostel. There were 2 floors, multiple bedrooms, walls made of clear colors. There was just one little problem with the main room. It was a library, of pornos. The 2 perverts didn't even bother to hide the covers. Her fist wreathed in blue fire and her eyes blazing like a hellish inferno, the Kunoichi slowly turned around to face her hosts, incinerating the book she was holding at the same time. The blonde pervert cringed, as pale as a ghost, and one of his eyes as black as night. Zabuza's gift. Gigi. Female fury alert. I know, kid, the Sannin replied, his face, jaw and cheeks covered with bruise. Another one of Zabuza's gifts. Let's be courageous, and face our doom. He locked eyes with his student, smiled, and fled in a flash. Just kidding. Before he could reach the door, a wall of ice appeared in front of him that he smashed into headfirst, further damaging his already abused face. Haku's eyes were as cold as winter, and her face the very picture of death. You are not leaving this room alive. Girls, Naruto growled, spheres of chakra forming in her palms, who wants to begin? What followed, was perhaps one of the most brutal beatdown ever recorded in history. Leaving the burned library and the soon-to-be maimed perverts at the non-existent mercy of the other girls, Yugito walked to the stairs, from which Chibaku and Zabuza were eyeing the scene. The first was gritting his teeth with dread, while the second was obviously enjoying every aspect of the scene. Haku, put the Senbon you know where already. A scream later, the swordsman shook his head in joy. She grew up so quickly, surpassing me in the torture department at her age. I am so proud. Won't they kill them? Chibaku asked with a fearful tone. I mean, it looks painful. That's the point, the swordsman deadpanned. And they will stay alive, and crippled and screaming and broken and crying in Castra. I got it, stop with the details. What? He implied I was ugly, and that Haku got everything from her mother. Well, it could be true, but it still pissed me off. Yugito nodded darkly. Perverts only live to die by the hand of women. She glared at the two. Understood. Hey, this is a misunderstanding. Chibaku protested. I have never undressed a girl with the power of my mind, or hide embarrassing photos of women bathing. You have no proof, no proof. The Jinchuriki blinked at the outburst. I never accused you of anything. Oh, the boy said weakly, being observed by both Yugito and Zabuza with not so kind eyes. Just forget what I said, it's not important. Yeah, the Nibby scoffed. Right. Did you think about nasty things involving Haku? Zabuza growled menacingly, and the blonde shivered. Of course not. I mean, it's Haku. The swordsman glared at him icily. Do you imply she is ugly? No. The puppeteer replied vehemently. She's a pale beauty, sire. A paragon of magnificence, sire. She is an unattainable star, sire. Alright, Zabuza nodded in appreciation. Then we are okay. Thank for your mercy, sire. He began to kiss Zabuza's feet, for good measure. Yugito simply sighed. As long as it is only that, she muttered, before leaving through the stairs. Hey, Chibaku told her, as he followed the kunoichi. Miss Yugito-san, can I call you Yugi? The lady stopped, and tilted her head to look at him sideways. Keep it Yugito-san, she said. And what do you want? Well, making small talk, break the ice, that kind of thing, he explained lamely. I don't know if you are going to travel with us, I kinda hoped to erase some of the bad blood between us and all. Yugito frowned. That is very nice of you, but... I apologize for killing N, Chibaku interrupted her. I know he was your friend, and all, so sorry. The kunoichi flinched, before retaking a serious expression. Was it the first time you did this? Killing someone? She asked, a bit troubled. The blonde shook his head. Bandits, thugs, small losers nobody was going to miss. And, he was a nice guy, just on the opposite side of the fence. But you don't regret his death, Yugito pointed out. I can see it. No, Chibaku replied calmly. It was him or my friend. If I had to do it again, it would be without hesitation. Yugito nodded. As a professional killer, she thought the same. And, how did he die? She asked, her tone sad and regretful. Why am I asking this to his killer? The kunoichi wondered. N is dead. It should be enough. Chibaku stayed silent a moment, and then answered with clear words. Internal bleeding. I managed to inflict lethal damage by ticking him off with the usual trash talk trick. He lost his composure and focus, and lowered his guard. The kunoichi frowned questioningly. N's Kyuubi sensor should have made him immune to this technique. What kind of trash talk? Surprised, the puppeteer scratched the back of his head. Things I improvised on the spot, how he was a hypocrite willing to compromise his morality just to follow orders, a dog of the rakeage, a coward. The blonde woman felt her blood freeze in her veins. This, if N's senses didn't shield him from mental assault, then there is only one explanation. N, did you really believe that deep down? You were always smiling, always brave, Yugito closed her eyes. Why didn't you speak to me, or B? Why did you keep that for yourself? Reopening her eyes, the kunoichi looked at the confused Chibaku. She trailed off, immediately regaining her composure afterward. What about your twin? Is he still comatose? Frowning at the change of subject, the puppeteer still appeared glad that she was caring about his friend. I don't know what the hell is wrong with him, the boy replied. Physically, there is no reason why he is like this since his chakra has stabilized. It might simply be extreme tiredness, or something else. A situation your friend N caused, was left silent, yet Yugito could read between lines. I can perhaps help you, she declared. The Nibby possesses special powers that could be used to cure him, or at least learn what is going on. Really? Chibaku wondered out loud, with a glint of hope in his eyes. Of course. I am a Biju, after all, the Nibby said proudly, as Yugito nodded. I do not promise anything, however. I will try to wake him up, the puppeteer declared, and if I don't succeed, the boy suddenly fell silent, staring at people on the floor above, at the end of the stairs. Yugito imitated him, and glared at one of them. Kakashi Hatake, she whispered coldly. Just the right person to ruin my mood. Yugito ni, the other replied with a casual tone, as if he was discussing the weather. Sasori stared at the two shinobi, and then locked eyes with his disciple. We need to discuss important elements. Privately. All right, the boy said as he left with his master. He gazed at Yugito briefly, before walking through an open door and closing it behind him. Kakashi didn't move, as Yugito walked past him, advancing through a corridor toward somewhere. She realized she didn't know the mansion at all, and ceased to advance. The two ninjas stayed silent a few minutes, backs to each other. Where and when? The blonde asked. Our duel. Here and now. Immediately rotating, the kunoichi prepared herself to launch a powerful bolt of lightning at her enemy. Damn, not the best place to use my large areas techniques. Kakashi hadn't moved. Surprised, Yugito frowned. If this is a shadow clone trick like Kazama did, she announced, looking for any sign of danger. No, Kakashi replied, not even bothering to face her. I am not going to fight. You are not going to fight. The blonde lady repeated lamely, her mind not working properly. Is this psychological warfare? No. The statement was so flat it seemed honest. Maybe it was. The kunoichi snorted. Then what are you going to do? Let me kill you here and now. The Junin shrugged. Yes, he said. Go for the heart. For a moment, the demon vessel had no idea how to react, and then glared at the other shinobi. Turn around and face me, she ordered him. I want you to face your doom. The gray-haired man obeyed. His one eye was full of determination. Take off your mask. No more hiding. The man did so, revealing his face. He was kind of handsome, but his visage was not at all exceptional, except the pale mark where the mask had been in his red Sharingan. The disturbing eye was staring at her, observing all her movements. What are you waiting for? He asked, touching his chest with his index finger. Do it. He received no answer. Nibby. The soul vision, all right kitten. In a flash, Yugito could now gaze into Kakashi's very being. Much to her surprise, it had changed from the one she had watched the first time they met. Instead of a ball of pain and despair, it had turned into a light with a blue haze, exuding will, confidence, no hidden intentions, no aggressiveness. Taking the aim, Yugito pointed her index at the man's head. His soul then released a calm acceptation, and an iron determination. As her spiritual sight faded away, the blonde lady couldn't keep her surprise for herself anymore. You are just going to stand there. Just like that. Yes, Kakashi replied. I will submit to your judgment. I won't run away. He shrugged. Not anymore. Why? She asked. Why? Don't you want to live? Don't you want to stay with? Of course I do, the Junin cut her off. But it doesn't matter. What matters is the present situation. He locked eyes with her, and Yugito mentally prepared herself in case he used the Sharingan. By breaking our deal, I can be considered a scum by my own standards. I won't compromise on them ever again. So shoot me now, or keep your hand forever. You don't care about your friends. She hissed. I do, and you must know that they will probably try to avenge me if you do kill me, so you should run away really fast, Kakashi whispered. But they are too precious to me. They can't be caught in the crossfire. That is really noble of you, Yugito stated. But completely stupid. She gritted her teeth. You can beat me, now that you have recovered from your fight with my lord, the lady admitted difficultly, even if your chances of doing so are minimal. Why don't you take it? Kakashi chuckled. Because you won't kill me. I have already won our duel. Yugito's rage boiled her blood, and she prepared herself to strike. Really? Yes, the Junin said, your hesitation proves that you won't kill me. You could have, quickly, cleanly, if you had been a scumbag. However, you are an honorable person, you think it is beneath you to strike someone that doesn't defend himself. The sentences were completely true, and it angered Yugito that the man could read her so easily. This honor gives you a reason not to kill me. Which is, deep down, you know that justice has been served, he replied. You're not so noble leader, eh, had it coming. Her fingers twitched. Don't use his name like that, she growled. You know nothing about him. He betrayed us, the Junin shot back. He conspired with Orochimaru, and forced his country into a pointless war of conquest. You know this. You helped us because of this. He was my leader, Yugito shot back. It is my duty. Death is lighter than a feather, duty heavier than a mountain, the Sharingan user whispered. I have learned and taught this sentence. But no one expects anything from you anymore, Yugito ni. The Raikage is dead, his dreams with him. He closed his eyes. Don't make the same mistake I did. Yugito frowned. Which one? His gaze met hers. Let the past ruin your future. For a moment, Yugito had no idea of what to do. The words had shaken her mind, confusing her and weakened her resolve. Her index stayed immobile, waiting for her command to kill the man in front of her. As she stared at him, the kunoichi also stared into mental images. Of all the people standing behind Kakashi, kids and adults loving him, willing to protect him, staring at her with sadness and seriousness. Am I really willing to disappoint them? She wondered. They offered me a chance, they trusted me, and yet, I am going to betray them. Am I cruel enough to take their friend away from them? Her finger twitched, and then went down. No, she decided inwardly. No, I'm not. The blonde locked eyes with the serene composed shinobi in front of her. Get out of my sight, Yugito whispered. And retake your mask. The man obeyed, and turned around to go downstairs. Thank you, he whispered. The demon vessel shrugged, and left for her room. You did the right thing, kitten, the Nibi declared. I think. Perhaps, the lady thought. It doesn't mean that I appreciate it. The Biju chuckled. Some things never change. The traveler, Kazama. A web of mirrors was shifting, in the middle of White Temple. Bricks were shattered, light was shedding from the walls, and puddles of black water were everywhere, sluggish and shifting. As expected, Kazama thought, as he inspected the damage, my fight with Orochimaru has caused a few problems, at least the seal is intact, and the mindscape only looks turned upside down, not destroyed beyond repair. After explaining the situation to the two perverts, who had surprisingly taken the news well, Jiraiya only doubted his story until he examined the seals of the different Naruto and only complained about the whole weirdness of it. Alans. He had invited them to stay at their vacation residence, and the teen had placed Kitsune and Gaara in beds, situating himself at the same time. He had decided to take a look at his mindscape, wanting to make sure everything would be fine when he would have his inevitable conversation with the Sannin. The worst part was that he had no idea what to say. Are they on a training trip? He had wondered the first time he saw them. Or had this senile old man taken his responsibilities seriously? The blonde had managed to keep his composure, unwilling to reveal the truth to his counterparts, to avoid hurting their feelings. The teen had to put up a good front, to make their life easier, even if he had to withhold information. Fortunately, the Sannin hadn't asked too many questions, still shocked by their revelations, but he would learn everything in time. In return, Kazama expected explanations, a lot of them. Looking at the walls of his mindscape, the world wanderer noticed a strange sight, well, for a certain value of strange. What is a door doing there? The teen wondered, as he touched black gate of strange, red metal. Opening it, Kazama looked through it, and gasped. Walking into the light, the former demon vessel looked at his surroundings, mesmerized. He was standing on a bridge of white stone, floating under a blue sky. The monument was long, staying still, above an endless, always shifting sea of sand. Around, statues bigger than the Hokage monument were half emerged, or shattered. They represented faceless giants, broken figures, and himself, at different stages of his life. The most bizarre constructs, however, were strange platforms flying, moving, with objects on them. Doors, weapons, pillars, it was the strangest sight Kazama had ever seen. No sooner he asked himself what was happening than one of the flying platforms connected with his floating bridge. Sounds of shocks were coming from it, and the world wanderer approached cautiously. 5 doors were standing there, each of different color, and one dark shadow was hitting the air with all its might. Suddenly, it rotated and stared at Kazama. I was waiting for you, it said with a familiar voice. The thing in front of him looked like a human made of shades. The eyes, the hair and the mouth were white, but the rest of the body was black. It was wearing a cape, and a face the world wanderer knew very well. It was his own. Who are you? He asked to his dark double, raising his eyebrows. What are you? Isn't it obvious? The doppelganger replied with a cold, sinister smile. I am you, or more precisely, a fragment of you, residing in your unconscious. He bowed slightly. Yami Naruto, at your service. How can this be? Kazama asked with a frown. Are you a split personality? Nothing of the like, the shadow answered. I am simply the manifestation of an aspect of yourself, a mass of feelings given physical form in the mental plane. It stared at the desert below. This is the sea of the unconscious, the place where all sentiments, impulses, repressed wills, are buried, waiting to emerge. It extended its arms. You are in the crossroad of your mind, the frontier between the unconscious and the conscious, between thought and reality. This is the temple of your identity, of which I am the high priest and guardian. I am the watcher, the one tasked to maintain the balance in your chaotic soul. I see, the blonde trailed off. Is Orochimaru the reason why I can access this realm? To overcome the Sannin, you had to use all your will, the shade nodded. Such victory comes with wounds, healing from their own, but it also comes with a prize. Through mental discipline and a refined willpower, you have achieved limited mastery over yourself, and as a result, over this realm. I am not sure I understand everything, Kazama said, but if I can access this place at will, does it mean I gain new abilities? No, Yami Naruto replied flatly. It simply means that you can now better understand yourself. It stared at one door, yellow, with the picture of a tanuki engraved on it. Open this gate, if you want to understand what I mean. Obeying cautiously, the ninja opened the door, and looked at it, locking eyes with the human-sized Aikibi, which threw sand shuriken at him. Taking a step back in surprise, Kazama was even more surprised to see the projectiles vanishing before it could reach him. The scene changed slightly, and soon he saw hands and kicks hitting the miniature Biju. This is a memory, Yami Naruto explained, the one of your fight with Gaara. You can witness and relive it at will. Interesting, the blonde commented, closing the door. He looked at the rest of them. Other memories. Your fight with Haku, your kiss with Sasuke, the shadow explained as his real self reddened, your original meeting with Naruto, it stared at the horizon. And something I do not know. Kazama looked in the same direction, and noticed an anomaly in the air, as if it was fake. Extending his right arm, the world wanderer touched an invisible form. Another door. Souvenirs hidden in plain sight by false, pointless, boring images, Yami Naruto explained. Important memories have been altered, covered by a veil of false ones. To your mind, it is the souvenir of a normal dinner, one that you repeated for hundreds of times, while it is something far more important. Of what is under, I have no idea, just as I do not understand why it is hidden. Interested, Kazama tried to open the invisible, but didn't succeed, much to his surprise. What is the problem? If you cannot open it yourself, the highest authority of your mind, then it confirms my fears, the shadow said. You did not repress these memories on your own. They have been locked by an outside source. Kazama's eyes flashed with rage. You insinuate that someone messed with my memories. I do not insinuate, I affirm, Yami Naruto said, as he punched the invisible obstacle to no avail. The power used to seal this information is external and self-sustaining. Implanted through a way I do not know anything about. Konoha. It wouldn't surprise him much, or maybe Madara. Only speculations, the shade replied, blinking. It can be an individual, an organization, anything. Sasori might help me, Kazama said, turning back toward the exit. He tilted his head to look at his shade. See you later. Don't worry, the shadow grinned, I am always here. Reaching his normal mindscape and the seal, Kazama then decided to do the second thing he had planned. Visit Kitsune. The walls opened, revealing a dark corridor. Walking in it, the world wanderer wondered if he would meet the famous voices in Kitsune's head. As he continued to advance through the shadows, he finally saw the entry of his friend's mindscape. A pity it was closed. A barrier, Kazama thought, as he stared at the wall of red chakra in front of him, covered with black spots. It was huge, and he couldn't see through it. Is it the Kyuubi's doing? The barrier twisted, moved, as if it was sentient. The spots took the shape of letters, giving the blonde a clear message. Go away. He is at peace. Glaring at the barrier, the former demon vessel summoned his chains. Whoever you are, he declared, you will not prevent me from seeing Kitsune. The letters changed form. He wants to stay with me. He must never leave me. He will never leave me. His eyes full of fury, Kazama ordered his chains to hit the barrier. Let him go. The blue chakra tore the red one apart, showing a little opening. And a black eye glared at him through it. Surprised, Kazama was suddenly propelled backwards by an invisible force. He flew through the corridor, and crashed in his own mindscape. The walls closed behind him, severing the connection between the two counterparts. Rising up, the blonde tried to open the way once again, only to fail. What the hell was that? Kazama wondered out loud, as he awakened with one big headache. He was sitting on the floor, in a bedroom. On two beds, Kitsune and Gaara were resting, unconscious. Samahata was waiting next to its master, and briefly stared at the teen worryingly before licking Kitsune's hand. Looking at his counterpart, the world wanderer clenched his fists, feeling weak and useless. I don't know what is happening, the blonde thought as he rose up, but your coma is not natural. Opening the door of the place, Kazama decided to find Sasori. Hopefully, he might have a solution. There is a problem, a female voice asked. Rotating, the world wanderer locked eyes with Yugito Ni. The kunoichi was staring at him with a curious look, her back against a wall. You seem troubled, she said casually, as if they were acquaintances, not that he disliked it, but it was kind of strange to see the woman having softened a bit. What happened? Kazama thought, while nodding. It's about Kitsune. The lady frowned worryingly. Did Anne do something irreparable to him? Her tone clearly indicated she was feeling remorseful about this, as if she was responsible by extension. The former demon vessel shook his head. I don't know, but his coma isn't natural. Something, maybe the Kyuubi, is keeping him in this state from within. And I can't do anything about it. I was kicked out of his mindscape before I could learn more, and its access has been closed. The kunoichi blinked, before adopting a serious expression. I might have a solution. The Nibi has a special power that can allow me to see people's soul. I can see what is happening inside his mind, and discover what is going on. Kazama's eyes glinted in hope. You can help him. Can she see in my soul too? He wondered, a mechanical voice joining his thoughts. This might prove to be problematic. Maybe, she said, looking at the bedroom. Can I? Of course, he replied, showing her the way. It's very nice of you. She snorted. I am not going to let a kid suffer because of his demon, or whatever, the kunoichi explained. Her eyes briefly shined, as she looked at Kitsune. Samahata seemed nervous, but silently waited. After a short moment, Yugito blinked in surprise. That's incredible. He is not alone in his head. If you are talking about the cube, Kazama began, but the blonde lady cut him off. No, I mean, it's literal, there is another human in his mind. The puppeteer, Chibaku. As soon as he closed the door of their common bedroom, Sasori locked eyes with his student. So, the blonde repeated, jumping on his bed, touching the blanket. Finally, a good bed, everything I ever wanted. Opening his travel bag, he took a scroll from it. There, he said as he gave it to his teacher. He immediately opened it, making little books appear in a puff of smoke. Chibaku's eyes drifted from them to the little room's window, to the wall, to Sasori's bed, to the privy. Ah, nice. I am proud of you, Chibaku, Sasori whispered as he sat on his bed, reading page after page. Very proud. The boy shrugged. What do you intend to do with them? I mean, they are notes I gathered in some dark laboratory. Orochimaru's journals, despite being written in a mix of intelligent remarks and insane rants, still contain information and data I can exploit, the older puppeteer replied. How very nice of you to have taken them when you freed Samahata. You more or less ordered me to do it, Chibaku deadpanned, looking at the objects. What do they say? Oh, description of cloning operations of human beings, bloodline transplantation, new types of gliders, artificial creatures made of assembled flesh. Quite an interesting part, since it can easily be adapted to puppetry, the puppeteer smirked. Of course, I would like you to keep this secret from our companions. Chibaku blinked. What? This information has been obtained through experiences that would disgust most people, Sasori replied. As such, they would find using them not worth the cost, and destroy them. They are our friends, Chibaku pointed out. It would be lying to them. No, it would be not bothering them, Sasori stated blankly. It is because you care for people that, sometimes, you must do what is necessary to keep them safe, even if they disagree with the means you are using. The blonde kid smiled. Ah, I knew you liked them. The puppeteer's artificial face immediately turned cold. They are valuable allies. Nothing more. Chibaku frowned. You don't, Maya. You shouldn't form strings with others that could be used against you, Sasori whispered harshly. Once they will be cut, and they always are, the pain never goes away. He waved his hand as Chibaku prepared to argue. Our own relationship is special, because I fully intend you to follow my footsteps, but that is all. You should keep your distances from others as much as possible, emotionally at least. He stared at his disciple with an honest look. This is for your own good. Sasori, Chibaku trailed off. You can't always stay distant. Friendship forms on its own. It is not a conscious action. But when friends turn against you, I can assure you that it will be a conscious act, the redhead replied. Unless it is against their will. But then everyone shall suffer greatly. Frowning, Chibaku eyed his teacher suspiciously. You imply, he blinked, before adopting a serious expression. What are hiding from me? Wordlessly, Sasori took 2 scrolls out of his robes and opened them, releasing 2 dead cadavers on the ground. A bit surprised, his disciple looked at them. They were 2 of the guards Orochimaru had used to bring back his teammates. You found a way to stop the technique. No, the redhead shook his head. I noticed that the sealed content of my scrolls had changed, so I released them with all the prudence necessary, and they were like that. Since Orochimaru hadn't stopped the jutsu before being killed, and that the undead are supposed to be still active after the summoner's death, I wondered what happened. He raised 2 of his fingers. I found 2 options. Kazama's mental fight with the snake disrupted the technique, Chibaku guessed the first. The second, however, when one of the technique's user died, one of the undead he had created was still active, sealed in Konoha, Sasori whispered. When the man ended up risen from the dead by a friend and promptly devoured by the Shinigami along with him, his creation vanished. Some theorized that the soul of the summoner, somehow, was still able to sustain the technique, making it eternal even in death. Chibaku immediately understood what he was implying. You think that somehow, Orochimaru's soul has been destroyed? The blonde puppeteer shuddered. It's possible, Sasori stated. It could have been the mental fight, or something else, but it is possible that Kazama somehow managed to destroy Orochimaru's soul. Since other dead summoners didn't end up the same, I doubt the Shinigami is behind this. That's a terrifying prospect, but it's just speculation, Chibaku shot back. We must anticipate all possibilities, his master replied. It could be an effect of the seal, a hidden power, yet, the time it is used against us, you must be ready. Wait, the kid whispered, just wait. Kazama would never do such a thing. He's a good person. That's what makes him so unstable, Sasori explained. Nobody is more dangerous than he who imagines himself pure in heart, for his purity, by definition, is unassailable, a wise man told me once. A ninja believing in his own righteousness is terrifying, because he will stop at nothing to achieve his goal, may it be revenge, peace, the greater good, and he doesn't care about who is against him. The puppeteer locked eyes with his disciple. This Naruto Uzumaki is full of hatred. He hates Konoha, he hates his past, he hates a few people. It is good to hate, as it is a source of strength and purpose, but if it is allowed to go wild, it consumes, like a raging fire. With the power he possesses. Chibaku frowned. Sorry to break your lesson, Sasori, but he is not the kind of guy to follow such a path. Yes, he might go crazy if one of us is menaced, but he will never hurt his friends. Probably, Sasori said. But imagine for a second what would happen if he ended up manipulated like Anne, or brainwashed. The possibility of him going rogue is minimal, but the consequences would be disastrous. No, you must be ready to face it. I will never support the contrary. His voice was weak and feeble, his aura of calmness shattered for a moment. Sasori, the kid nodded, touched. All right, if you think it's for the best, I will prepare myself. Immediately afterward, Sasori regained his composure. It is still just a probability. Kazama has more chances of staying a noble person. It is just that his power is too mysterious and dangerous to be overlooked as safe. He stared at the 2 cadavers on the ground. I think it is time for you to make your first human puppet. The girl, Naruto. The next time it happens, Naruto growled, I will kill you both. Yes ma'am, the 2 perverts muttered, kneeling in front of her, battered and bloodied. Excuse us ma'am. Snorting, the blonde left the room, Haku at her side. I already hate them, Chibaku was already a pain, but these 2 just take the cake. The Yuki nodded approvingly. We should stay weary around them. I don't want to imagine what kind of perverted plot they will invent. We can beat them easily, the demon vessel smirked. But they can run fast. Haku smiled. Not fast enough, Naruto. Never fast enough. As the 2 went upstairs, they heard 2 people speaking. How is it possible? Naruto-sensei wondered. A split personality. I didn't notice it sooner because it was probably repressed by your counterpart, Yugito said, but N might have accidentally freed it by unbalancing your friend's chakra. The Kyuubi's three parts are still there, along with Kitsune, but the other human personality is repressing him forcefully, imprisoning him in his own unconscious, like a dream. It might explain why the Kyuubi has been split. Since Biju takes some characteristics from their host, his own mental problems might have influenced it. This sucks, the teen replied. Can't we do anything? If you didn't gain access to his mindscape, then a Yamanaka or an information extractor might be needed, the woman explained. Maybe this Sasori. Or Jiraiya, if he's still alive. He is, Yugi-chan. Naruto interrupted the discussion, attracting the two's gaze. Sparing him was difficult, but if he can help Kitsune, then I will forgive him. Same as I, Haku added. I can't say the same for his disciple, however. Good, Kazama nodded, I will talk to him. Personally. He locked eyes with Yugito. Could you inform Sasori about your discovery? The Kunoichi shrugged. If it is necessary. Thank you, he said, his eyes drifting toward Naruto. Could you keep an eye on Kitsune and Gaara? Their respective demons aren't the nicest ones of the bunch, so they need to be watched. Of course, Naruto smiled. Nothing will escape my notice. Kazama smirked, and then left for downstairs. Yugito eyed him as he vanished. He's really a leader in the making, isn't it? She wondered as he vanished. Haku nodded, and Naruto's grin widened. Yeah, he's the best. The blonde lady snorted. Well, it has yet to be proved. He lacks the experience necessary to make a good field leader, like Kakashi or Sasori, she pointed out. However, everyone began like that, so it can be excused. She sighed. Well, at least he is open-minded, so I shouldn't complain. Does it mean you are going to follow us, Yugi-chan? Naruto asked with hope. Yes, the Kunoichi replied, making the little kid jump on place. I have the feeling it will be a good experience. Yes, Naruto shouted. Welcome in the Arashi clan, Yugi-chan. The two other girls smiled at her display of joy. Very interesting indeed, the adult woman added. I think I might even help you become fine Kunoichi, both of you. Would you like some training with me, once the time comes? The two girls nodded. It is very kind of you, Haku said. You have many things to teach us. You can bet I would like training with you, Yugi-chan, Naruto smirked. Your technique made me beat Gaara, and I'm sure I can kick even more asses under your tutelage. The lady smiled. You can already. You just need more confidence, she said, before leaving. Watch over Kitsune for me. I will, the blonde kid promised. She then opened the door of Kitsune's bedroom, Haku following her. Samahata was pinned on the ground by a large mass of sand. The second they entered it, the door closed behind them. The two Kunoichi rotated, and green eyes glared at them, sand shifted around its master's ankles. You, Gaara growled with a low voice. Finally, I was waiting for you. Immediately on her guard, Naruto prepared herself to use a Rasengan, and Haku took a few Senbon out of her kimono. Gaara, you are awake. I am always awake, the mad demon vessel muttered. Sometimes, I am awake, but I can't move. I can't see. But I can think. She gazed at the blonde ominously. Why? Why what? The blonde asked, tense. Why did you spare me? The sand witch asked with a confused voice. You defeated Mother. You could have killed me, or left me to die, but you transported me to safety. Why? Naruto blinked. Why? It was the right thing to do. The right thing to do. The redhead repeated. I do not understand. Was it to use Mother? Information. For a trophy? Hell no. She shouted, shaking her head in negation. You were going to die, so I saved you. But, the Sand Master seemed at loss of words. I tried to kill you. I tried to make you bleed and scream. To validate my existence. Why did you try to save me? She locked eyes with the blonde. Why? The kid shrugged. Well, I told you, I couldn't let you die there. I thought we could become friends. Friends? Gaara asked, surprised. What is a friend? Both Haku and Naruto flinched at the question. Is she honest? She must have had a very crappy life. A friend is someone you can trust, the blonde explained. It is a person you love dearly, that you want to make happy, and who makes you happy in return. You enjoy his company, Haku added, and you know he will always be there for you. Is it like Mother? Gaara asked. Mutual love. Is it friendship? That's a bit different, Naruto explained. A friend never forces you to do anything, never push you to kill others. Mother, Gaara muttered, massaging her temples. Mother is confused. She says you do not understand her. She says that sometimes, you have to kill to protect those you care about. To make them feel good. This is ridiculous. The three girls flinched, and turned to look at the source of the demonic, inhuman voice, Kitsune. His eyes were as red as blood, and shining malevolently. You make us sick, all of you. He stared at Gaara. Especially you, Ikibi. Kyubi. The redhead wondered out loud, probably giving voice to her demon's thoughts. Pride, selfishness, rage, the possessed boy said, as he left his bed. Three aspects of the same being. We are awfully disappointed, Ikibi, to believe that you actually care for this pathetic prison of flesh. The Biju chuckled. You are a shame for all of us demons. Suddenly, his skin changed, fangs and claws grew, and the kid transformed before the girl's mesmerized eyes into a huge werfox. Friendship is a lie humans invented to hide the slavery they call civilization, the creature growled. The strong survive, and the weak die. It is the law of nature we follow, and enforce. Faster than the eyes could follow, the beast rushed toward Naruto to tear her apart. As death approached her, the blonde tried to form a Rasengan. Too late. The werfox screamed madly, his claws ready to cut her in half. A huge hand of sand and shards of ice threw him away and pinned him on the opposite wall, cracking rock in a deafening sound. Try that again, and I will send you back to your fox house myself, Haku announced. You vermin, the monster growled. It stared at Gaara with a gaze full of hate. You dare to betray your own kin, trash. Mother doesn't like you, the redhead declared. And, she looked at Naruto. We want you to live. Ah, the blonde scratched the back of her head. Thanks. The door opened brutally, and many people rushed inside the bedroom. What is happening? Kazama asked. You, Gaara glared at Yugito, who replied with a harsh gaze. You. Yes, me, the blonde lady said. You didn't forget me, it seems. We will solve our problems later, if you wish. Haku, Zabuza looked at his adoptive daughter, and then at the shards of ice. Zabuza-sama, the Yuki muttered, we have the situation under control. Apparently not, Jiraiya stared at the werfox. Is this your friend? Yes, Kazama confirmed, glaring at the monster. What happened to Kitsune, Kyubi? The werfox chuckled. He is, grounded, the creature laughed. We couldn't let him stay free, after failing to help us defeat this unworthy Kyubi, so we buried him deep. You and that other personality? The pervert Naruto asked. That's low. The monster didn't answer for a few seconds. We do not see what you are talking about. Oh come on. Chibaku shouted. We already know you are not alone in Kitsune's head. The creature didn't reply, stayed still. For a moment, Naruto wondered if it had fallen asleep, but then its head tilted brutally. Rage. It called. Rage, where are you? The group, surprised, was left wordless. Selfishness, find the rage. It said, and blinked. Selfishness, where are you? The creature growled. No, it can't be, its eyes widened in surprise. You. How did you? No, I refuse. The werfox struggled vehemently. I will not be imprisoned again. Never again I shall be chained. What the hell is happening? Naruto wondered, disturbed by the spectacle of the beast convulsing left and right. Suddenly, the beast stopped moving. Its eyes had become hollow, devoid of intelligence. Kitsune raised his head, and stared at the group. And then, woof, it barked questioningly. The whole group had no answer to that. The werfox tilted his head in surprise, and then looked at the sand keeping him pinned on the wall. It whined, like a beaten puppy, its tongue pending. It looked at the humans again with sad eyes. Surprised, Naruto advanced toward him, hearing Kazama gasp behind her. Raising her hand, she approached it from Kitsune's muzzle. The beast licked her fingers gently, its eyes devoid of aggressiveness. Good fox, dog, whatever, was the only thing she found worth saying. The traveler, Kazama. Though a window, the teenager eyed Yugito and Naruto trying to domesticate Kitsune, who seemed not able to understand basic orders. The werfox wasn't aggressive, and wasn't even disturbed by Gaara's presence next to him, despite having been brutalized by her beforehand. Yugito, Haku and Zabuza were observing the redhead with varying degree of vigilance, and a bit at the werfox. In spite of his appearance, Kitsune acted more like a dog than a fox. True, he could understand basic words and behave like a normal person, but he couldn't talk back. He could move, play, but nobody could understand what the demon vessel was feeling. His soul has been repressed, confined inside his brain, Yugito had told him. The other personality, or whatever, also did the same with the 3 Kyuubi. Their minds are sealed, kept in dream-like state by it. Since nobody wants or can assume control over the body, it has regressed to its basic instincts. Kitsune is self-functional to a degree, but he doesn't have conscience of what he does. She had then shrugged. He's a sleepwalker. How can it be? The teen wondered out loud, before ceasing to observe the others. Sitting in one of the chair in the Great Hall, the World Wanderer thought about possible solutions to the problem. Sasori and Chibaku had been helpless, but there had to be a way, he just needed to find it. He wouldn't forgive himself if he couldn't. It was his responsibility, and he had to live up to it. Thinking, aren't you little blonde? Jiraiya asked, freezing Kazama's blood in his veins. The Sannin sat in another chair, and eyed him calmly. Sorry for your double, I know just how bad being a demon vessel can be sometimes. You aren't one, the blonde replied coldly. You haven't been, so you cannot understand. The Sannin winced at the tone, and Kazama immediately cursed himself. This Jiraiya wasn't the original, and he seemed to treat his Naruto quite well, but he wanted to punch his face so much. Ever since I adopted my godson, after his parents' death, the old man said, the people of Konoha have distrusted him. The seal had broken once, and they were afraid the Kyuubi could escape a second time. Even my influence and my charm didn't convince most of them. The situation had become so intolerable that I had to take him away of his hometown before he reached 7. Can you imagine the pain I felt once I saw people I had given so much for insult my dearest person, and the son of the greatest hero I have ever known? Kazama wanted to reply that the Yondaime wasn't a hero by any means, but the Sannin's serious look convinced him to shut up. I have spent years training him, he continued. I have seen him tap in the demon's power, and I have witnessed firsthand what kind of damage it caused. I have been there when he had confessed his fears of losing control. I have always been there for him, from the very beginning of his life. He locked eyes with the blonde. I don't know what my counterpart did to you, but I can assure you I have always done my duty, and what was right. So he had guessed. The teen had to admit that he couldn't help but respect this Jiraiya. This man was the godfather he should have had, what all his counterparts should have had. Your other self left us all to fend for ourselves, Kazama explained. We grew up alone, all of us. You are just the exception that confirms the rule. The Sannin frowned. I have a hard time imagining myself abandoning Minato's son. And yet you did, the blonde replied, sad and angry. I am the only one of them to have ever talked to you before, and it was only to teach me summoning, the Rasengan, basics, how to kill myself using the Kyuubi, and finally sabotaging my taijutsu. The pervert raised an eyebrow. Could you show it to me? If you need to see for yourself. Rising up, the former demon vessel began to execute the faulty moves under Jiraiya's watch. As you can see, it is full of flaws. Normal, the Sannin said, it's for the sage mode. It was never meant to be a fighting style in the first place, but a preparation. Kazama flinched. What? This is a stage of the sage mode's apprenticing, the man explained. Since the technique screws with your senses a lot and increases your own awareness at the same time, this preparation style allows you to become a glass cannon while you use natural energy. Wait, the blonde interrupted him, I did not understand everything. The Sannin chuckled. Maybe a demonstration would be better. Suddenly, his eyes became yellow, and his face adopted frog-like characteristics. His whole body was radiating with energy, and Kazama felt the pervert's power extending, like the roots of a tree. This is Sage Mode, the ultimate ability of the Toad Clan, Jiraiya explained, absorption, manipulation, and absolute, fabulous mastery of the power of the earth itself. He roared, his fingers forming V. With it you are the most badass incarnation of Mother Nature in the entire universe. Kazama's jaw dropped at the outburst. Sure, you have more difficulties wooing ladies, Jiraiya admitted, but in return, you have phenomenal cosmic power. He laughed maniacally and waved his arms. You can add natural energy to your blows, making them break buildings. You can reinforce all your techniques. And you can trail girls by following their chakra like a trained dog. Wait, the blonde's mind began working once again. You do realize there are some kunoichi around this house, don't you? Silence. Jiraiya, as pale as a ghost, looked around himself, twisting his fingers and probably expecting an angry girl to attack him within the minute anyway. Since nothing happened, he promptly began to kiss the floor. thank Mother Nature, Lady Luck, Amaterasu, whoever. He returned to his chair, only briefly eyeing the window sideways to observe the kunoichi outside. Well, the man said, his appearance returning to normal, unfortunately, you can't keep it for long, or else there are a few unpleasant effects, but it is still awesome. Kazama felt his blood freeze in his veins. Distant memories rushed to his mind, making him realize the obvious. The feral gale, he muttered, thinking out loud. So that's how the energy he used to stabilize his technique, and how he managed to beat Kishin. However, something bothers me, Jiraiya said. Usually, I can detect people by analyzing fluctuations of chakra, like a sensor, but that's just it, I don't see you. You are in front of me, and yet the sage mode tells me you do not exist. This is the Shinigami's power, an inhuman voice whispered to the blonde's mind, death is above nature, and beyond its incarnation. Probably an effect of my seal, Kazama replied, I mean, it is the power of death itself, the antithesis of yours. Probably, the Sannin muttered, massaging his temples, that will make you a good infiltrator and spy, I can assure you. He smirked. But back to the topic. Sage mode, by giving you enhanced senses and awareness, completely nullifies the weakness of the preparation style by allowing you to predict and avoid the incoming blows, and helps you defend the most vital areas. Since most of the style is built on attacking the adversary quickly with little blows, and that the sage mode makes lethal, you develop a glass cannon style. You dish out a lot, but since you can't take blows, you evade them. It is the best way to use the sage mode in combat. This was to help me. Kazama thought, trouble. He couldn't believe his ears. It is impossible, the dark voice resonated. Why didn't he teach me this sage mode already? Why didn't he explain me the purpose of this style? But why didn't he explain it to me? Why didn't he teach it to me? Jiraiya shrugged. I have completely no idea. He shrugged. With shadow clones, it only took a few weeks for my student to learn it. Either you were a complete moron or he was. The teen glared at the Sannin. Your counterpart was a traitor, he rasped angrily. He let the inner council hold me back, keep me on a leash. He closed his eyes. If only I could get my hands on him, I would beat him within an inch of a life with my bare hands. I would break him, like I crushed Orochimaru. Speaking of this, Jiraiya, the good one, interrupted his thoughts. You talked about the inner council. His eyes were blazing with fury. Don't tell me Sarutobi-sensei left it reformed. He did, Kazama replied coldly. The great clans banded together to make my counterparts' life a hell. Because we couldn't be trusted with the Kyuubi, he rasped. Makes sense to antagonize you, the Sannin said, attracting a glare. I mean, it's logical. You can serve as a boogeyman for anyone wanting to gain the support of the civilians. Since they do not quite understand sealing arts, by menacing you or promising to restrain you, these people can gain funds and help easily. Since most civilians, especially the daimyo, are independent from the clans and are dependent on the Hokage protecting them or passing laws in their interest, it also deprives sensei of valuable allies. Kazama thought about this revelation. You mean, I am simply a scarecrow? Not to sound cynical, but the inner council's ringleaders probably care only marginally about whether or not you control your Biju, Jiraiya told him. A few individuals among them might be concerned about Konoha's Jinchuriki, but the real goal of the inner council has always been and will always be the restoration of the clan's former power, which the Shadaime and his successors slowly reduced. You're just a good tool to serve their ambitions, and maybe a hostage for the few people supporting you. It makes sense, the blonde realized. I always imagined that their goal was to keep us demon vessels in line, while it couldn't be enough to keep them united for long. I am such a fool. Once the Sandaime died, they probably exploited the situation to reinforce themselves and push Tsunade into a corner, since she wasn't aware they existed and was not as experienced as her predecessor, yet, she could have tried harder, a dark voice whispered. Jiraiya and she were strong. They had my support, and the support of powerful people. They were cowardly, they submitted, they sacrificed me. Moreover, Jiraiya continued, having experience with such conspiracies and the like, I can tell you one thing, this organization shouldn't have existed in the first place. I mean, Danzo would have wiped it out very quickly, or they should have degenerated into infighting rather quickly. Kazama's eyes widened. Danzo, him again. I heard about this man. ANBU's former commander, the Sandaime's rival. More like his shadiest friend ever, Jiraiya corrected him. I have rarely seen someone so overzealous and fanatical. He wanted the position of Hokage, but once Sarutobi beat him at it, well, he became his most loyal follower. He is ready to do everything for the Hokage and Konoha, even things Sarutobi doesn't allow. This war hawk is an extremist, and he would never have hesitated about cutting a few heads to keep Konoha intact. He might even have enjoyed it. All cages have a danzo, a dog doing things necessary to maintain the stability the leaders can't be associated with. I doubt he wouldn't have, or his replacement, acted to wipe the inner council out. That, and the members needed to make such an organization powerful generally have opposing interests in multiple matters, or rivals, or will simply backstab the group the first chance they have. Jiraiya locked eyes with the blonde. I can only see 3 reasons why it can exist. All of them involve someone pulling the strings from behind the scene. Danzo, or his equivalent, is allied with the group. Kazama guessed the first one, or the Sandaime purposely left the organization be. The second is counterproductive. Jiraiya replied, no, a foreign power, like another cage, can be the group's backer. Could it be Madara? And finally, a member of Konoha, inside the council or out, is the mastermind behind the group. The blonde realized, and he, or she, is somehow smart and powerful enough to keep the others in line and organize them. The Sannin nodded. This final possibility is the darkest of all, because the leader can play clan heads like a fiddle, and succeeded in keeping his identity a secret from Sensei and his followers, preserving his own life. Meaning, yes, it can be anybody. Anybody. The Ice Princess, Haku. From the sidelines, Haku observed Naruto, as the blonde threw a branch that Kitsune quickly caught midair, Samahata on his back. The scene put a smile on the Yuki's visage, which Zabuza immediately noticed. Dumb dog, the swordsman commented. It's kind of depressing to see the little fish in such state. I lost a punching bag. Maybe someone like Tsunade-sama will be able to help us, the young lady suggested, hopeful. Who knows? The missing nin rolled his shoulders. I don't read the future. He watched at Gaara and Yugito, glaring at each other a few meters away. He whispered in Haku's ears. What do you think about these two? I can liquidate them if they are a threat. No, Zabuza-sama, she said with a serious voice. Please, do not attack them. They can be trusted. The swordsman chuckled. Blondie assaulted us and menaced Kakashi. Sandface tried to murder your friend, he pointed out. You know the proverb, an eye for an eye. Yugito-san is an honorable person, the Hyoden user whispered, and she seems willing to befriend us. To get into a better position to backstab us. Haku shook her head. She will not. Naruto and Kazama-san trust her, and so I do. Zabuza snorted, obviously viewing her as naive and sentimental. And Sandface. He rasped. She defended Naruto from the Kyuubi. Haku looked at the redhead sadly. She is so lonely. She has no one to believe in, and a dark power that ruined her life. She's much like the person I had been, and she needs help. I think I and Naruto, even this whole group, can give her the love she lacks so badly. We can become friends. Gaara's eyes widened briefly, and she adopted a confused face. TCH, you are too naive, Haku, Zabuza shrugged. Since you really believe in what you just said, then I will give these two a chance, but the second one of them tries to hurt you, I will not restrain myself again. His ominous promise done, the swordsman left the Yuki alone. Joining the other girls, the lady immediately noticed the Gaara's eyes gazing at her. The redhead stayed silent a moment. Thank you, she muttered, obviously not really sure how to react. So you were listening to us? The Yuki wondered, attracting Yugito's attention. Mother's sand protect me, hear for me, see for me, the demon vessel whispered, the dust shifting around her body. She says, thank you, too. Haku smiled softly. It's a pleasure. Gaara joined her fingers. Were you honest? She asked. You spoke of love and friends. I meant it, the Yuki assured her, joining her hands. We are not like the people who hated you, Gaara-san. We only want you to be happy. Happy, the redhead repeated. Uncle, Yashimaru wanted me to be happy too, her master's voice was regretful. The sand twisted, caressing her skin gently. How do you befriend someone? Haku lowered her eyes. Well, it happens, she said, Gaara listening silently. I mean, you can even befriend an enemy, if you both want it. Gaara nodded, lost in her thoughts. She looked at Yugito with a strange gaze. She stopped, suddenly walking away. I feel strange, she whispered, both to herself and Haku. I need to be alone for a while. She sent a last look at the ice user, and then left. Both the young lady and Yugito observed the redhead from a distance. She needs time, the Nibby's container whispered. She probably never had any long human contact with someone of her age, so it must be unsettling. Cursing whoever made the Sandmaster what she was, Haku nodded sadly. She didn't try to kill you, however. Yes, Yugito agreed. I kind of regret having helped Kumo cage her, when we invaded Sunagaku. When I look at her, I can't help but think Naruto-san did the right thing in sparing her, in spite of my previous impressions. The blonde Kunoichi sighed. Strange, I know 1,000 ways how to kill someone, but I suck at human contact. Briefly, Gaara stopped moving, before walking once again. The pervert. Hidden behind a bush, Naruto giggled as he observed the girls playing with the big fox. Observing their asses with a field glass, the young teen particularly focused on the ice lady that slapped him. Such a beauty, and hard to woo, he smirked. Just my type. His female clone was too much domineering for his taste, and well, it was himself to begin with as well. He had hormones, yes, but he wasn't sick in the head. The girls' companions, however, were all hot. The redhead was very cute, the violent temper aside, and the psychotic behavior, and the evil animated sand lurking around her, and the fact she was looking at the oldest woman, Yugito, with barely repressed aggressiveness. Speaking of the blonde, she had perfect curves and was extremely cool, and had a bad character too, and would probably kill him if she discovered he was eyeing her chest now, and maybe do something worse. Damn, why did the hottest kunoichi on the earth have to be the most violent too? Enko was downright sadistic. Kuritsuchi had tried to kill him, Karui had kicked him in intimate parts, Tamari had been willing enough, after slapping him thrice, but then her father had discovered them kissing in his bedroom. Naruto had barely escaped with his life that time, though Hana's dogs had made him run like never before after he took a photo of their mistress naked. There was also that accidental kiss with that girl in a village inn. Hey, what are you doing there? Freezing, his eyes widening, Naruto slowly tilted his head to the side. If it's a kunoichi, I'm already dead. Fortunately, it was simply one of his counterparts, the one called Chibaku, flanked by Kakashi. He quickly grabbed the two and hid them behind the bush, briefly looking at the kunoichi to see if they had noticed them. Since they didn't, the pervert glared at the newcomers. Couldn't you be more discreet? If the girls discover me, I'm dead. I knew it, Chibaku whispered, pointing his index accusingly. You are spying on them. It's research, the teen replied with a grin. I need inspiration for my next volume of Ika Ika. Really? Kakashi asked. Then you're excused, Grand Master. The pervert smirked. Oh, a fellow member, what is your rank? Senior, sire, the Junin said. I was in the group before I even hit 16. What are you talking about? Chibaku whispered with a frown. I hate being in the dark. Naruto blinked. Wait, how can you be a pervert and not know ab? I'm not a pervert, the puppeteer hissed. Oh yeah? Jiraiya's student asked, taking photos of girls out of his robes. Then what were these doing in your bags? Chibaku looked as someone having a cardiac arrest, whereas Kakashi raised an eyebrow with a kinky expression. Oh, I wasn't aware you liked to spy on older women. How did you manage to catch them in such positions? The puppeteer's skin had turned red like a tomato. You stole them. Silence, he put his hand on the other boy's lips. I am a ladies' man, dude. I can sense pervert material from a mile, and I can see easily through your disguise. The teen smirked. Oh, and congratulations. Nobody managed to make a photo of Tsunade taking a shower before. This is the worst day in my life, Chibaku whined, while Kakashi was trying his best not to laugh. No, Naruto shook his head. Today is the most wonderful moment in your life, as I, in my quality of Grand Master of the Order of Ika Ika Paradise, will introduce you in the Great Brotherhood of the Super Perverts. The puppeteer put his palm on his face. Is it a sect? It's a community where men and women can practice their perverted way without being hunted by angry chaste wannabes, Kakashi explained. To enter it, all you need is to read the pervert's holy book, Ika Ika Paradise, and let its power transform you. Naruto nodded, and took a red book out of his robes. On it, a girl was being chased by an amorous man. Here is the latest super deluxe edition, he giggled, made in collaboration with my teacher and the Sandaime Hokage. Reading this will make you one of us. Hey, no, Chibaku shook his head. I don't want to end up like you, no offense. Oh, Kakashi smirked, clearly doubtful, I'm not so sure. It contains 20 trashy romance tales, Naruto began, all illustrated. Is also included the guidebook of the pervert, explaining how to peep effectively, how to put your hand on a girl's ass safely, and, more importantly, all the basic information about the hottest kunoichi on the continent. Chibaku looked torn between taking a look and shaking his head, so his counterpart decided to use the trump card. Nobody had ever resisted to it. Oh, and, of course, there are the 10 best photos of kunoichi taken in their most embarrassing, hottest positions. I can't resist anymore, Chibaku convulsed and seized the book. The second he began to read the first page, his nose bled profusely. Oh, no, he cursed as Naruto took it back. No, I need it, give me the precious back, he asked with a weak, crazy voice. Already addicted, Kakashi nodded with a hint of pride. Unfortunately, you need to make your proof to receive our gift. Everything, he whispered. I will do anything and everything. Naruto smirked. You need to cross the line between closet pervert and full-on super pervert, he explained, looking at Yugito with a lecherous grin. You must steal your first bra. Omake 1. How to play cards. You're sure we have escaped them? Chibaku asked to Kazama, who was, alongside everyone, looking at his surroundings for any sign of spandex, finding only sand. I teleported us to another world, almost destroying all of reality trying, the teen replied. We should be safe, unless they can cross worlds too. Zabuza's hand met his face. You did it, he growled. You just tempted fate, you stupid punk. Hey, the blonde world wanderer protested. We are safe. We're in the middle of a desert, yes, but we are. Aha, you activated my trap card. A boisterous voice shouted, as spikes emerged from the sand, almost impaling the group by surprise. Not so fast, another person coldly shot back. I activate my Susanoo's special effect, making it immune to all monster effects, trap cards, and magic cards for a turn. The spikes vanished suddenly. It's cheating. A blonde clad in orange, wielding a strange machine on his arm, rasped angrily. No monster can have such a massive game breaker without any drawback and freaking 4,000 attack points. I'm your former friend turned awesome villain, a teen with black hair, dark robes, and the same machine, snorted, a powerful warrior chuckling in front of him. Now, I activate a magic card from my hand, Great Snake Escape. A big card representing a huge purple viper facing a huge explosion appeared next to him. I immediately recuperate all my life points and half yours. That's against the rules. The blonde whined. You can't use a magic card on your opponent's turn, and certainly not from your hand. I'm a Uchiha. I have a loads of money so screw the rules. And I'm the hero. The blonde gritted his teeth, looking at his machine. I use Gamabunta's monster effect. By removing him from my grave, I gain another turn. He took a card in his hand, dramatically not staring at it. The fate of the world now depends on it. Chibaku massaged his temples. Guys. He attracted the two madmen's attention. What the hell are you two doing? We are playing cards, the blonde, a copy of Naruto, replied, as if it was obvious. The winner will gain ultimate power, and reshape the universe in his image. I must defeat him alone, because I'm his rival and an invincible hero protected by the plot, meaning I will win using the power of friendship. Forget what I said, it was a stupid question, Chibaku massaged his temples. However, if you need to decide the fate of the world, I have something both quicker and fairer. What? A coin toss. Omake 2. Sanity, where are you? So, if I understood it all, you are all a band of Naruto with the same power as I. Kazama briefly wondered what he was doing there. The rest of the group had wisely fled long ago. Even Naruto, the second she saw them, I have some doubts. Yeah, a Naruto disguised like Kakashi replied lazily, I thought the same the first time. He continued to read his Ika book. But we're saying the truth. He giggled. The best part. We are the beautiful yellow brothers. A Naruto looking like a bodybuilder shouted crying. It's the best day of my life. He tried to grab Kazama, who jumped to the side. I need to gain a second level. A Naruto looking like a sheet of paper added. A green bar called HP was floating above his head. Please, can you help me storm the next dungeon and gain a lot of XP? I am invincible. A Naruto with the Rinnegan, Sharingan, Mokuden, strange bones covering his skin, and standing on a dragon summon laughed. I have the power of Mary Sue, and I can woo all the girls I see just because I'm awesome. I want to be the pirate king cause everybody thinks I can't, a blonde with a straw hat said, and I'm also an elastic man. Power Ranger. A Naruto shouted, becoming covered with a kitsch red suit. Why can't you cease to doubt? We are a team assembled from all the corners of the multiverse to fight injustice forever. That, I never doubted, Kazama corrected them. But I still suspect you aren't me, just mental ward escapees. Omake 3. What the feral Gale was doing in a very distant multiverse. AKA, why you should never try to listen to madmen, because that's just plain stupid and suicidal, especially when they bring you to a world with giant robots and where logic doesn't apply. What the hell does this have to do with fighting opponents that can manipulate the time-space continuum? Naruto Uzumaki roared frantically as he dodged another giant metal fist and stopped himself from getting crushed. Even for a giant robot, this one was off in his opinion, with its bright colors and the fact that its body was a giant face. I wanna join up with those other me's. It looked interesting and they needed the help. Do not question my logic. His psychotic and childish master proclaimed on a cliff in the distance. His dark sunglasses were warped such that they were now massive and pointing out at a weird angle to either side of his head. Believe in the me that believes in the you that believes that I know what the hell I'm doing. Now steal that fucking giant robot. There's a mech competition that we need to enter. The guys hosting it were smart enough to not allow co-op to fight, so the odds of it lasting long enough for a winner to be determined are actually above 25%. Not really convincing me, oh crap. The blonde shouted as he jumped and flew through the air and attempted to dodge all the missiles that were just shot from the robot, which exploded violently near him and surrounded his body in large fireballs. Why the hell is that thing's body its head, and where the hell did those things come from? He roared as his charred body was thrown skyward. Only uncontrolled psychotic laughter met his ears in response. (2453). 2453. Chapter 20. Christmas Omake. In the salon of Jiraiya's house, a huge pine made of sand, ice and wood, was surrounded by boxes, gifts, presents. And two girls. I don't know why, Naruto whispered, but I have the feeling we missed something. I think I know what, Haku said, joining her fingers. Instantly, a big star-looking snowflake formed on the tree's top. Better. Wonderful, Naruto confirmed. Hearing someone advancing toward her, she rotated. Yugito-chan, Gaara-chan, she shouted. You're so beautiful. Are really? The redhead asked, obviously uncomfortable in her brown kimono. Yugito didn't simply create robes for the Jinchuriki, she also added a little blue flower in her hair, making her very cute. I don't look strange. Not at all, Haku reassured the troubled teen, before staring in awe at the Nibby's container. Yugito-san, where did you find this dress? The blonde lady sighed loudly. She was wearing a beautiful purple kimono that espoused her curves perfectly, and she had released her hair, which were now falling like a golden waterfall in her back. It's a gift from Jiraiya. Naruto raised an eyebrow, imitated by Haku. That's suspicious. The Kyuubi's vessel examined the kimono, just in case there could be hidden opening through which the pervert could see the lady's body. I already examined it carefully, Yugito stated, changing subject. What about your dresses? Fortunately, I had two of them in reserve, Haku smiled, looking at her pink dress. They look great on me. Naruto smirked. The boys began to descend downstairs, all wearing black kimonos. Boss, how do I look? You're perfect, the world wanderer said. He observed the rest of the girls, and reddened noticeably once he saw Yugito. Oh my, I totally agree with you, pal, Chibaku stated, as red as a tomato. Just. Whoa. Every dude there must feel his hormones awakening. Wrong, Sasori snorted, completely unfazed by the supermodel in front of him. You don't count, you do not have any hormone anymore, Zabuza stated. Point taken. The puppeteer stared at the stairs. You two, we are waiting for you. Why do we have to do this? Jiraiya's voice asked. Because you are two pervs. Naruto yelled. You deserve it. For you beauty, we would do everything. The Sanin's apprentice replied from upstairs. Gigi. Yeah. As soon as they appeared, the girls immediately laughed. Oh come on ladies. The Toad Sage shouted, wearing a red geisha outfit and a lot of makeup. This is horribly cruel. Ridiculous. That's too fun. Naruto corrected him. And this is well deserved, Haku added. Ladies, it's Christmas. The pervert Naruto smiled at them. Can't we make love, and not war? Never. The girls shouted at the same time. Too bad, Zabuza snorted, taking his present. I wonder what I got. Tearing apart the packing, the swordsman stared at a book. How to Become a Nice Person, in 5 lessons, he quoted, his eyes blazing with fury. What kind of dead guy signed his death warrant by sending me this? Kakashi began to whistle, trying to look innocent. Cool, Kitsune, Kazama chuckled, putting a red scarf around the werfox's neck. You look like a noble wolf now. The creature raised his head arrogantly, attempting to imitate the proud beast. Well, Kitsune, you certainly look cute, Yugito smiled, approaching it and Kazama. Ha! Haku jumped on place. Yugito, Kazama, look above you. The two did, and noticed the mistletoe. Everyone, especially Jiraiya, grinned ear to ear. Kiss. They shouted. Kiss. Kazama reddened noticeably. Oh, that's tradition, Yugito interrupted him, joining her lips with the world wanderers, under the crowd's applause and cheers. That's, Kazama whispered, when the kiss ended. That was good. It was, Yugito confirmed with a seductive smile, making the boy even more embarrassed. What a lucky guy, Jiraiya muttered to himself. He took his present, and grinned like a madman. Tsunade's naked calendar. He felt as if he was in paradise. Thank you, Father Christmas. Pervy, I got your present. Chibaku shouted, as pale as a ghost. He traded a black box with a beautiful doll almost faster than the eye could follow, and immediately took a step back, trying to put as much distance as possible between himself and his counterpart. What is inside? Sasori asked absent-mindedly, examining his gift, a miniature theater. Something for adults, the boy said, obviously traumatized. Don't ask. Just don't ask. Cool, a sword. Naruto shouted happily, holding a long, golden blade. Now, I need a badass nickname. The Heavenly Blade. Haku suggested. The Blonde Comet. Kazama proposed. The Golden Lightning. No. Naruto's eyes shined with awe. The Orange Ass Kicker. Haku and Kazama cringed. The Kunoichi didn't seem at all bothered by the duo's uneasy silence. Boss, what did you receive? A black metal armor. The World Wanderer looked at the letter next to it. Now you can finally join the dark side of ninjutsu, Mikabashi. Oh great, a fan's gift. Strange, I received a book, Haku said, observing the orange object. That's mine. Kakashi shouted, grabbing it before the girl could read the cover. That's yours. He gave her a pendant, and left. Hey, Kakashi, Yugito. Zabuza growled, pointing his finger at the roof. Mistletoe. Again. The Kunoichi blinked, surprised. First, I receive a ball of wool, and now I have to kiss Kakashi. It seems, Kakashi chuckled smugly, preparing to take away his mask. Yugito suddenly noticed something hidden behind the mistletoe. Stop, what is this? She examined the object carefully. A puppet. Blazing with fury, the Kunoichi's eyes found the string of chakra and drifted toward Chibaku and the pervert Naruto. Kakashi looked downright disappointed. Guys, couldn't you be more discreet? Crap, Chibaku stated. I think she noticed us. 2 punches propelled the duo through a wall, much to everyone's amazement. I was about to score. Kakashi yelled, as the Kunoichi jumped and landed on the 2 boys. We were so close. The pervert Naruto muttered. To find what was under this mask. Chibaku finished, before raising his head. Wait, nobody is going to save us. Help. Everyone faked being deaf. Except Yugito. You. Please, have mercy. Chibaku begged. You. She approached her lips from the duo's ears. You will put the mistletoe above Kazama, she whispered. The 2 boys' eyes widened. You have a way of redeeming yourself, Yugito warned them, before leaving. Think wisely. The 2 boys stayed silent a few seconds. Chibaku, what are you waiting for? The pervert muttered. Obey her, or else she might return. 2 seconds, I'm still amazed to be still alive. The pervert Naruto looked at Kazama. What does he have that I don't? Maybe she's just messing with us. Chibaku suggested. I'm not in a hurry to find out. Everyone. Naruto shouted. The time to sing has come. Alright. Kazama replied. I wonder where Kitsune has gone. Too bad. Dashing through the snow. In a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go. Laughing all the way. Naruto continued. Bells on bobtails ring. Making spirits bright. What fun it is to laugh and sing. A sleighing song tonight. Sasori and Chibaku sang together. Oh, jingle bells, jingle bells. Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride. In a one-horse open sleigh. Kakashi and Zabuza continued. Jingle bells, jingle bells. Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride. In a one-horse open sleigh. Jiraiya and his apprentice joined hands. A day or two ago. I thought I'd take a ride. And soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lank. Haku and Gaara sang, the latter holding the doll she had received as present. Misfortune seemed his lot. We got into a drifted bank. And then we got upset. Everyone joined hands. Oh, jingle bells, jingle bells. Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride. In a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells. Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride. In a one-horse open sleigh, yeah. Suddenly, the roof broke, and 4 forms crashed on the floor. Jingle bells, three masked men sang. Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride. In a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride. In a one-horse open sleigh. Ho ho ho. Tsukiyomi said, disguised as Father Christmas. He had even put a false beard under his mask. Merry Christmas everyone. The Uchiha faked incomprehension, as all those staring at them were as pale as ghosts. Why such astonishment? Told you I would make a better Father Christmas, Amaterasu stated, disguised as a green imp. It was our fate to lose a shuriken kunai scroll, Susanoo stated, wearing the same disguise. At least we didn't obtain the deer roll. Kitsune barked happily next to the 3 masked men, balancing the false horns badly pasted to his head. You know what? Kazama muttered. I think the author didn't take only water before writing this chapter. Chapter 20. Wanderers. The sky was yellow. Yellow, a sick, strange yellow. Not blue. Taking mental notes, Kubaiko briefly used a jutsu to test the atmosphere's composition. Unknown substances were involved, along with a very high percentage of water, which was strange, as there were no clouds. Absolutely lethal to humans and most species. Fortunately, the traveler had a formidable protection. The shapeless white helmet he was wearing sustained him with purified air, allowing its wearer to survive the hostile environment. REALITY 526, he said, his helmet recording his words and sending them to the scientist's colleague. The atmosphere is completely unfit for humans, explaining why I have detected no hint of our species' existence on this planet. He observed his surroundings, endless plains of gray rocks. The soil's composition is similar to the common Earth, but I have yet to find a life form. Any life form. Not even bacteria. His partner, Fukuro, whispered to his ears, communicating through the helmet. None, Kubaiko replied, advancing toward a local hill made of salt and what looked to be concentrated calcium. This whole rock seems to be a lifeless husk. The other scientist grunted. However, we have already seen various species adapting to much worse conditions. While human life can't live there, it can be the case for other species. I agree, Kubaiko began to climb the cliff. It is entirely possible life indeed existed on this world, until a critical event. A meteor impact, perhaps. One big enough to wipe out every creature on a whole alternate Earth, even microscopic ones, would be multiple times bigger than the moon, Fukuro chuckled. There wouldn't be any planet left after this kind of cataclysm. Maybe a solar event. I can't tell, I lack data, Kubaiko said, reaching the hill's top. Has my suit sent you any noteworthy info? No, the distant scientist replied. Well, until now. He grunted. Kubaiko, be wary, it's detecting a spike of alien chakra. I sense it, the masked man cut in, staring above him. It's very enormous. Prepare the next jump, just in case. My friend, not to be pessimistic, but you should jump right now. There's a big mass of chakra coming right at you and it's colossal. I'll be ready, Kubaiko replied, before frowning. Wait, what do you mean by mass of ch? What is that? He shouted, observing a black mass descending from the skies. Q, What the hell is happening? His partner's voice was laced with concern, and rightfully so. I can't, Kubaiko replied, observing the shapeless network of tentacles, eyes, horns, mouths, and strange appendages floating toward him. I can't find the words to describe this thing. That's helping me a lot, thank you, the scientist deadpanned. Can you be more precise? Well, can you picture, in your mind, a squid and a human woman having a baby, which was born infected with cancer, transformed into a living tumor until it reached the size of a mountain? Absolutely not. I envy you, as it is 10 times worse. Using a jutsu, Kubaiko analyzed the creature's chakra. He instantly recognized its composition. A biju. Not any biju, Fukuro stated darkly. The first of them all, the great ancient. The Jubi, Kubaiko realized, the monster's thousands of mismatched eyes noticing him. He cursed. By Izanagi's toilets, gritting his teeth in dread, the man touched his helmet, hoping he would escape in time. Jump. The Jubi began to shine like a living, ill sun, radiating nauseous, destructive chakra. Kubaiko's suit protected him from the toxic, malevolent power, and began to analyze it. Human chakra detected, Kubaiko whispered, his eyes burning. A Jinchuriki. The life disease, a maddened male voice muttered in the scientist's mind, intruding it like a sentient and disgusting poison. It must be cured, it must be burned. The Jubi's eyes snapped widely open, and unleashed a powerful beam of light at Kubaiko, intending to annihilate him. The scientist stayed motionless, facing death. Less than a second later, the monster vanished, being replaced by a blue, beautiful sky full of clouds. The rocky desert and the hill were now a beach of shining sand, with crabs and birds walking on it. No human was around, a deserted island. Hugh, his partner's voice whispered through the helmet. Hugh, are you all right? That was one of the most horrifying experiences in my whole life, Kubaiko said. I've seen worlds populated by monsters, but this creature was. I can imagine, Fukuro muttered. From what your suit have gathered, we can confirm it was a Jinchuriki. Maybe the Sage of the Six Paths, I can't be positive. Impossible, Kubaiko replied. He wouldn't. First rule of physics. The absolute zero possibility doesn't exist in the infinity, and since everything that can happen will happen, the impossible cannot be, Fukuro replied, quoting Kubaiko's own research. He, of course, knew his friend had learned them by heart. Your statement would contradict everything we know about reality's splitting laws. Alright, it's possible the sage lost control of the Jubi. Happy. Completely, Fukuro mocked him. I suppose I classify that world as a Class 10 world. It would be madness to return there, Kubaiko agreed. We can guess the diverging element was the sage losing control of the Jubi, or something of the kind. We won't try to confirm it by investigating, so Vajra has to accept that explanation. The scientist observed his surroundings. Where did you send me, exactly? REALITY 355, codename Responsible Jiraiya World. The diverging element was Jiraiya taking his responsibilities and adopting his godson, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, after the Kyuubi incident. Omoikane discovered it 2 years ago. It's a relatively stable and harmless place, hence why I teleported you there. You must be on an island near the Land of Fire's coasts. I see, Kubaiko trailed off. Could you make me jump back to the base? I'm kind of tired. Don't you want to take a break? It's a beautiful play. Hey, what's that? Problems? The scientist asked to his friend. Your suit detected a spatial anomaly in this reality, Fukuro stated, transferring some data to the helmet. A few miles away from you, in fact. Raising an eyebrow, Kubaiko made a few hand seals. Extrasensory no jutsu, he whispered, focusing on locating the anomaly. His mind, temporarily freed of the limits of the human body, quickly noticed the tear in the veil of reality. It looks like a breach in space, I think. I can't be sure, I have never seen this kind of anomaly. Then go ahead and investigate, the other replied, as if it the most obvious thing in the world to do. He had, apparently, completely forgot about advising his partner to take a break. Prepare a jump, just in case, Kubaiko said, preparing a teleportation jutsu. Who knows, another cosmic horror might be lurking around. The victim, Kitsune. Hello, Naruto-kun, Hinata welcomed Kitsune in the academy's courtyard, bowing slightly in front of him. I hope you slept well. I did, Hinata-chan, he replied with a grin. Even if I had strange dreams. And you? The Hyuga heiress smiled slightly. I dreamed of our graduation. We ended in the same team with Sasuke, under Itachi-sensei. Together, we passed the test with flying colors, become the best genin of the year. She stared at him. You said you had strange dreams. More like nightmares, Naruto replied, shuddering when he remembered the gruesome part where he became a monstrous fox and killed Sakura in the streets. He didn't inform Hinata of it. His friend had a fragile constitution and would be deeply disturbed. In them, I was traveling in different realities. Different realities. Imagine worlds where history changed slightly. He stared at the street, knowing Sasuke would soon come to school. Like, what if I was born as a girl, and not a male, or what if Tsunade Hime had had a son with the Yondaime Hokage? Hinata chuckled, amused. It is hard to imagine that. More strangely, I met copies of myself, he laughed. All special and unique. We hung out together and had crazy adventures. We even fought the legendary Madara. He chuckled. He kicked our asses so hard it wasn't even funny. Really? Hinata asked, putting her fingers on her mouth, horrified. That's terrible. I awoke right after that, Naruto concluded. Really, it was a strange dream. He frowned, trying to locate the Uchiha brothers among the people crossing the street. What is Sasuke doing? He's never late. Maybe clan matters. Hinata asked. Naruto smiled. You're the respected heiress of the Hyuga. Your father views you as the next coming of Tsunade Hime, and yet you always manage to be right on time. Sasuke is just Itachi's little brother, he doesn't have work. He stared at the end corner of the street, hoping to see his friend. Instead, two completely white eyes stared at him blankly. A teen whose body was as black as night, save his white eyes, hair and mouth, was standing at the end of the street. His face was devoid of any emotion, and an unnatural aura was emanating from him. Naruto immediately recognized his features. Kazama. The figure had vanished. Naruto. Hinata asked, taking his arm. Are you alright? You are pale. It's nothing, the boy replied, trying to understand what just happened. The heiress frowned, obviously not believing him, but then tilted her head to the side. Sasuke is there. With a smile, Naruto stared at the incoming boy, who was accompanied by his elder brother. Hey, Sasuke, you're late. I needed sleep, the Uchiha replied with a smirk. I'm sure you understand. After all, you made me wait 1 hour last time. That was an accident, Naruto shouted. My alarm didn't work. Right, Sasuke snorted, while Hinata giggled. If this is all, I have work to do, Itachi stated, bowing slightly. Naruto-san, Hinata-sama. Sasuke, have a nice day. You too, Itachi Aniki. He shouted, as his brother disappeared faster than the eyes could follow. Class, it's time, Iruka announced. Right, Naruto said, entering with his two best friends. He smiled. He was Konohagakure's best rookie. He was loved by everyone, he had Sasuke and Hinata. He had everything he ever wanted. The traveler, Kazama. His eyes closed, Kazama focused on the world surrounding him, trying to visualize the energy in the air and earth. He tried to picture the woods, the trees, the soil. The Azure Dragon knows the world is divided in two. In and yo, yin and yang, negative and positive, darkness and light. The Azure Dragon is the ruler of the Tempest because it does not master one, but both. By separating the two as one, the Azure Dragon releases the primal power of lightning. His devout follower, by separating the yin and yang of his chakra, can command the divine lightning. By gathering it at his fingers and unleashing the celestial punishment at his enemies, the follower can destroy any target without fail. To separate the yin and yang is a difficult task. The follower of the Azure Dragon must have a will of steel, and a total absence of trouble. The mind must be at peace, untroubled by the sensible and by emotion. At this moment of perfect stillness, the follower must then split the self in half. From the unbalance, a great power shall be born, one without mercy. The basis is to divide the yin and yang natures of your chakra, Jiraiya stated. Which is kind of hard. Good to know, Kazama deadpanned. Can't you be more helpful? Apart from telling you have chosen a very difficult technique, the sage chuckled, obviously amused by the struggling blonde. This is not lightning release, boy, but lightning creation. The first is about vibrating your chakra until it becomes a pale imitation of true electricity. The second is about creating a lightning bolt, aka a lethal discharge of electricity that will annihilate its target and probably start a fire at the same time. You make it sounds as if it was a strange thing, Kazama replied. He had seen people summoning giant beasts, creating ice, or fashioning tidal waves, so why should he be impressed? It seems difficult to pull off, but not so dangerous, in my humble opinion. Normal for you, you're an Uzumaki, the man shot back, adopting a lecture tone, similar to Iruka's. Your chakra is so potent it will protect you from the nasty side effects of this technique, like the intense heat. It will act as an insulator and direct the lightning somewhere else than your body, but not everyone has this chance. Any other person would lose his hand, or even his life. This technique belongs to my clan, the World Wanderer said calmly, trying to achieve the state of perfect stillness necessary to use Sage Mode. Hence why it can only work with them. For once, he would actually live up to the Uzumaki name. Then prove it, Jiraiya replied softly. You are a master of the Kage Bunshin, a yin-yang release technique. After using it so much, I'm sure you have developed a good affinity with it. Just stop thinking, a human is a being of emotion. A momentary lack of any would cut the self in half, as they say. Just have a feeling of detachment. Kazama ceased to listen. The world around him was silent, and he himself stopped moving. In this perfect moment of stillness, he tried to clear his mind, ceased to think about Konoha, Madara, the multiverse, Orochimaru, Naruto. He pointed his fingers in front of him, and nothing happened, images instantly filling his thoughts. Crap, the blonde muttered, disappointed as he opened his eyes and observed the forest surrounding him. I can't get it. The rightful state of mind, I mean. Then again, he had so much to think about. He couldn't stop thinking and wondering and speculating. Who exactly could be dangerous enough to control the inner council? What had Jiraiya, his Jiraiya, planned to do with him? What were his locked memories hiding, and who sealed them in the first place? Plus, all the usual thoughts about his counterparts. Naruto had told him she intended to train under Yugito alongside Gaara to learn how to work with her Biju. The World Wanderer had said yes, slightly disappointed he couldn't teach her a few things he knew. Reason had triumphed over feeling though. The blonde knew he couldn't do all of Naruto's formation himself, and Yugito seemed to be a nice and powerful kunoichi. It was for the best. With all the events that happened to you, I guess it was to be expected, Jiraiya grunted, giving Kazama his scroll. To be honest, if you had done it on your first try, then I would have thought you were either a sage in disguise or a total psychopath. Both these two have the peace of mind necessary for this, the sage, because he can control his heart, the psychopath, because he doesn't have one. Want to try a new technique? Yes, he said, skipping the Divine Lightning chapter. However, I would have preferred using the Sage mode. He was still feeling disappointed by what happened. I've told you 100 times, you can't, Jiraiya complained. Haven't you learned that yourself? I have, Kazama said harshly, remembering the hours he had lost, trying to activate this power though meditation. It had been all for naught, the blonde was not able to channel natural energy. But I'm very angry to have been prepared for a technique I can't use. Your seal is wonderful, kid, the Toad Sage said. Thanks to its secondary abilities, no sensor will ever be able to locate you, not even Sage mode users. However, this power to appear invisible to detection also makes you unable to master natural energy. How could you be? Nature doesn't even notice you. You are unfortunately too unnatural, Kazama proposed. Yes, that's the right word, Jiraiya nodded. You seem so alien to nature its chakra cannot mix with yours. Great, the blonde trailed off. I guess I will have to rely on myself again, he stated, reading the instruction of a new technique. Chakra Pulse. The Azure Dragon is the king of the proud and the mighty. As such, it possesses the power of censorship, preventing others from attacking. His followers are imbued with the same power, in order to defend the good name of the Azure Dragon and of the virtues it embodies. The power of the Chakra Pulse allows its user to reduce every technique within a given perimeter to its primal state of spiritual and physical energy, thereby neutralizing it, by releasing its own, vibrating chakra. The perimeter varies with the user. One with a frail body can negate only attack reaching his skin, whereas someone graced with the blood of the Uzumaki can negate techniques coming from a whole mile. However, the power of censorship has a great cost, and will burn out a great quantity of personal energy. The Chakra Pulse applies to every technique in the area, even those from allies. As such, this power must be used carefully. This is exactly what I need, Kazama stated, memorizing the necessary hand seals. A defensive jutsu that can also serve as an offensive one. He remembered his old battles, and was aware he severely lacked in defensive techniques. He hadn't needed one most of the time, as he could use his clones to protect himself, but against large area jutsu like Madara's. Good choice, Jiraiya nodded. However, as I told before, it's a lightning release, an affinity opposed to yours. It will give you more versatility, but it is far more difficult to learn it than another wind jutsu. He smiled. Then again, you pretended to have enough techniques based on this element. Overspecializing is generally rather risky, because you can't beat a threat designed to counter your area of expertise. Kazama nodded, remembering Temari's fight with Tenten, back when he was still a genin of Konoha. The latter had been utterly trashed by the former, whose wind jutsu couldn't be overcome by the weapons of Lee's teammate. Now, we need to discuss a more important subject, Jiraiya said gravely, locking eyes with Kazama. Which one? Kazama raised an eyebrow. Maybe it was about the inner council, or Madara. Jiraiya grinned ear to ear. Which girls in your group do you plan to date? Or maybe not. Oh come on. Orochimaru's killer groaned loudly. Can't you stop thinking about girls for one day? I can't get past the morning, the pervert sage laughed. Come on, I don't understand you. There are 3 beautiful ladies in your team, and you haven't even thought of asking one out. In your place. Stop talking, Kazama shuddered. Your counterpart already had a similar discussion with me, and I still have nightmares remembering it. Jiraiya grinned wickedly. Let me guess, he told you about the birds and the bee. Just shut up, I'm trying to become deaf. Did he teach you courting? Because I can tell you how to woo that Yugito hottie, or Miss Haku, if you can get past Zabuza, and I'm not so confident about this girl from Suna. Kazama struggled very hard not to shout angrily at Jiraiya. The debacle at Wave had been bad enough, but Jiraiya was on a whole new level. I am not interested, the blonde replied. We are currently fleeing a group of near indestructible mass murderers. I'm not really in a good position to start a romantic relationship. True, Haku, Yugito and Gaara were beautiful girls, and he liked them all, but they were his companions. He had other things to think about than starting a relationship with one of them. Your loss, Jiraiya shrugged, disappointed. You know who to speak with in case you need advice. And advice for what? Zabuza asked with a grumpy tone from right next to them. Kazama hadn't even heard him arriving. Damn assassin training, why can't I sneak up on others instead of always being surprised? How to be a pervert, a loser and a senile old man. Hey, Jiraiya gritted his teeth, his pride wounded. I'm not senile. And I barely hit 50. I don't care. The swordsman glared at the sage, his eyes blazing with fury. The next time I see you and your damn apprentice look at Haku's chest again, you will learn why I have been nicknamed the Demon of the Mist. Arg, an overprotective dad. Jiraiya shook his head sadly, putting his hand on Kazama's shoulder. You will have a hard time getting rid of that if you want to date the little lady. If glares could kill, the Sannin would have fallen dead instantly, burned alive by the blonde's angry stare. Zabuza eyed the teen suspiciously. I hope for your sake that's just one of his jokes, or else I will castrate you, the swordsman said. I really mean it. While the world traveler simply cringed, the Sannin snickered. You can't keep her as an infantile child forever. She is what, 15, 16? It would be good for you to let her grow now, as you won't be always there to make decisions in her place. For a few seconds, Kazama wondered if Zabuza was going to kill Jiraiya on the spot, as the blonde fully expected him to. Instead, the swordsman frowned sinisterly. Old man, he growled. Do you know how much I would have given up to stay pure for a few more years? The tone was cold, but the world wanderer detected sadness behind that veneer of detachment. The teen was genuinely taken aback by the reaction. Zabuza. Haku already lost enough of her childhood, the missing nin declared. If I can make her profit off whatever is left of it, then I will. I owe her that, at least. Kazama's eyebrows raised in surprise. He's like me, he realized, empathizing with the swordsman's feelings. I'm acting like him. You cannot stop time, Jiraiya pointed out. All you will manage is to make her less adjusted to social life and more dependent on you. Too true, Kazama thought, remembering Haku's fate on his homeworld. It had been a terrible loss, and she didn't deserve to die again. Zabuza shrugged, unconcerned by the Sannin's critics. We shall see. I'm not here to talk about parenting, he declared with a laconic tone, locking eyes with the blonde. I'm here for your trophies. My trophies? Kazama raised an eyebrow questioningly. Of course, change the subject, Jiraiya grumbled. You are not correcting your problems, only delaying them. The blades you took from Orochimaru, Zabuza grumbled, blatantly ignoring the toad sage. Isn't it obvious? Frowning, Kazama took a sealing scroll from his belt, a gift from Sasori. Releasing the two sealed blades, the World Wanderer seized their pommels. What about them? I don't know, they're just two swords with special properties, Zabuza deadpanned. I thought you would like to practice with them. They belong to my teammate, Jiraiya added. That fact alone is disturbing. They might even be cursed if all the rumors on the Kusanagi are to be believed. If what you said about these weapons' history is true, the swordsman from Kiri explained, then your skills at using them should have increased as you killed their last owner for real this time. He frowned. You didn't even consider testing them. I had other matters to think about, Kazama replied, waving the weapons. He had already noticed they were easier to manipulate, yet, in his hands, they seemed like feathers. Plus his reflexes saved his life, making him jump backward and dodge Zabuza's incoming blade. What the hell? The teen roared in surprise, the missing nin preparing to strike once again. Back up, the former Kiri nin told Jiraiya, who was forming a Rasengan. What better than a fight to test his skills? Kazama glared at Zabuza. Fine, I will kick your ass the way you want. He stared at the still tense Jiraiya. I'll take care of Hai. The swordsman of the mist was already charging, trying to slice the blonde vertically. Compulsively, the World Wanderer moved to the side, and attempted to stab his adversary with one of the Kusanagi. The missing nin leapt backward, dodging the attack. Or so he thought, Orochimaru's former sword extending on its own, almost impaling Zabuza's chest. The man used his huge blade as a shield, which barely stopped the murderous Kusanagi, which, continuing to grow, pushed the Kiri nin to a tree's bark, before retracting. Kazama hadn't even used chakra to do this. These blades, he frowned, remembering what happened after killing Orochimaru. Are they really sentient? The two weapons briefly lightened, as if they said yes. Great, you can hear my thoughts, the blonde smiled. What else can you do? Images suddenly filled his mind, making him jump on place. He saw Orochimaru wielding them, then a disfigured man, a samurai, a criminal. He saw hundreds of people using them to fight and kill, until he saw a large being of light defeating a colossal black snake with 8 heads. The creature roared, and Kazama returned to reality. So this was your life and experience? He thought, once he returned to reality. The blonde remembered how people used to swing them, even if he had never met them in the flesh. The teen's attention returned to Zabuza, who was charging again. Instinctively, the World Wanderer threw one of his two weapons at him. He of course dodged it, but Kazama's will made the sword change course. As the blade turned around to stab the missing nin in the back, the blonde attempted to flank him at the same time, confident he wouldn't be fast enough to dodge both attacks. Instead, Zabuza deviated the flying sword with his own, and punched Kazama in the face with his other arm, propelling the teen to the ground. Before the blonde could react, the missing nin put his sandal on the teen's face and kept him pinned on the soil. That's better, Zabuza said, absent-mindedly dodging the flying sword and catching its pommel with his free hand. So you do know how to use these blades. You punch me, Kazama muttered, shocked by the man's pragmatism. In a sword fight. And, Zabuza chuckled. A ninja uses every tool he has to win a fight. In battle, the only rule is to have none. Throwing the Kusanagi next to the Uzumaki's neck, the swordsman then grabbed his opponent by the collar and forced him to stand up. Plus you're the one that tried to stab me from behind, or maybe was it the sword itself? It was me, the blonde admitted, defeated. I can command them at will, like Orochimaru. You can do much more than that, Zabuza snorted. You had the reflex to flank me, and your moves were sloppy yet professional. He chuckled. You weren't wielding your swords, isn't it? They were wielding you. Kazama didn't answer, thinking about what happened. They gave me their knowledge, their memories, he said. I knew how to use them instinctively. Memory transplantation. Jiraiya raised his eyebrows, before paling. Oh crap, now I know what inspired Orochimaru's weird reincarnation technique. You may know how to use them, but you can't do it right yet, Zabuza grumbled, ignoring the Sanin. You lack all the reflexes needed, the muscles, the experience. Your blades are good, but you aren't. You know the theory, but not the practice. He wavered his huge sword. I have a good solution to that problem. Kazama cringed visibly. Trying to kill me. To maim you, Zabuza corrected with a sadistic tone. The brain is a fantastic machine. It will build you good reflexes after you manage to dodge many blows, and increase your awareness of your opponent's reactions. Ah, Jiraiya smiled. So there is a reason behind this behavior. I thought you were simply a sadist. Kazama found Zabuza's lack of an answer deeply disturbing. The sandwich, Gaara. Gaara didn't understand what pushed her to sit in front of this rock called a house, listening to a lesson given by the older Jinchuriki. Naruto had offered her to come with her and she had accepted almost compulsively, not even thinking. Girls, Yugito started, sitting in front of the two and next to Haku, who was simply assisting to the lesson because she had nothing else to do. Kitsune was peacefully sleeping at her side. The basis about Jinchuriki training is the need to have a good relationship with your Biju. If you are on bad terms, your respective chakra won't mix well and it will cause more harm than good, both destroying and regenerating your body and costing you years of your life for nothing. She looked at Naruto and Gaara. Are you on good terms with your tailed beast? Of course, her mother rasped angrily, furious at someone doubting of the bond she shared with Gaara. Isn't it obvious? Mother and I are close, Gaara whispered softly. Mother had always been close to her, comforting her when she was alone, cuddling her with the desert's sand. Yugito couldn't know that, and Mother grudgingly agreed. Kyuubi and I are good buddies. Naruto smirked. It gives me chakra whenever I ask. Good, Yugito smiled. Could you channel a bit of your tenant's chakra? Not much, just enough to enhance your abilities. We can take her by surprise, my baby, her mother whispered. I can crush her and drink her blood, you just have to ask, and she is dead in the minute. Gaara listened to the offer, but the answer was obvious. No, mother, they believe in me. The Shukaku growled. Nothing is more fragile than trust, my dear Gaara, but if it is your wish, I will do what she wants. Joining her hands, Gaara drew into the Biju's chakra, her eyes taking a golden color. Naruto's became red, and her appearance turned more bestial. So Kurama has indeed taken a liking to its container, the Shukaku chuckled. It seems I'm not the only Biju with parental instincts, that's one thing we have in common, apparently. Very good, Yugito said. Your chakra mix well with those of your sealed Biju. Now, what can you currently do with your beast's help? Well, Naruto scratched the back of her head. Kyuubi can shape a cloak of chakra around me and create tails. Tails of chakra, Yugito raised an eyebrow. How many of them? 2, Naruto replied. I never get past 2. I see, the eldest looked at Gaara. And you? I already know you can fully transform into Shukaku, as I fought you in that form before, but what else can you do? She might use this information against you, her mother whispered, cautious. Are you sure you want to give her a chance? Except for me, everybody you trusted has betrayed you, don't you remember? Gaara hesitated. Uncle Yashimaru died for me. My brother was the exception that confirmed the rule, the Shukaku replied bitterly. He sacrificed himself so my husband could think you were the emotionless killer he wanted, and leave you alive. But there is no common blood between you and these people. The little blonde saved you, and I am grateful for this, but can you really trust the rest of them? Gaara muttered, unsure about what to say. Gaara, Yugito whispered kindly. Nobody forces you to talk about this matter, so if you don't want to, I respect your decision. The sandwich trailed off, ceasing to hesitate. I can transform partially into mother. Gaara, partial transformation. Yugito's surprise was obvious. Can you show me? Nodding, Gaara transformed her hand into her mother's paw. I'm impressed, but if you could transform fully, it was to be expected. She frowned. However, something bothers me. When we fought on the battlefield, you seem to have been completely overtaken by Shukaku. Did you temporarily lose control of it? She shook her head in negation. When I sleep, mother awakes and we switch places in the seal. She is in control when it happens, until I wake up. So it's only a pseudo-full transformation, the Kumo Nin nodded. And can you make a chakra cloak around yourself, like Naruto-san? The redhead shook her head again. I can only transform partially or let mother takes over my body. Alright, Yugito said. Then this first lesson will be on the different stages of Jinchuriki forms. Gaara and Naruto nodded, and listened. First thing, you all know that there are 9 different Biju. Yugito started. Their chakra reserves depend on the number of their tails. The Shukakus are similar to 5 cage-ranked shinobi put together, while the Kyubis can seem near limitless. However, all tailed beasts possess different abilities that allow them to match each other's, depending on the circumstances. Hear that, Kurama? The Shukaku chuckled. Even humans disagree with you. For example, the Ikibi is nigh unstoppable in the middle of a desert like Suna, Yugito stated. It took hundreds of ninja, multiple sealing techniques, and me fully transforming to restrain it the last time we fought. In fact, all Biju, except the Kyubi, possess a specific ability that can be transplanted to their container. The Kyubi, having enough chakra to destroy mountains and create tsunamis easily by just moving, doesn't need any secondary offensive power. Its strength is simply enough to overcome every kind of opposition. All Jinchuriki, despite their differences, can access 4 different stages of transformation, Yugito stated. The version 1, the version 2, partial transformation, and the full transformation. Version 1 and 2. Naruto repeated. What does that mean? We call version 1 a special state where a Jinchuriki is covered with a shroud of animated chakra, Yugito explained. This is basically your 2 tails form. This state allows you to enhance all your basic abilities more than when you tap a little in your Biju's chakra, and also gives you a protection, as the chakra will move to fight alongside you and shield you from blows. Version 2 is a more advanced form where the cloak of chakra is modified to become physical matter. It basically turns into flesh, blood and muscles, making you look like a deformed, miniature version of your Biju. While you don't have the chakra control necessary to use complicated jutsu anymore, you become a true juggernaut. Your strength is multiplied, and almost no attack can break through your second skin. While you do not have the sheer destructive power of a full transformation, you can fight without the risk of hurting your allies so long as you remain in control. Partial transformation is simply you manifesting a part of your Biju's body, like the tail, Yugito continued. A full transformation is when you assume the appearance of your tailed beast without breaking your seal. In this state, you can cause mass destruction, but also endanger your allies. Most of the time, apprentice Jinchuriki begin by learning the version 1, continue with the version 2, then the partial transformation, and finally the full transformation. This is to allow them to have the perfect control of the tailed beast's chakra that makes a full transformation possible. Yugito eyed her 2 students. As such, Naruto, I will teach you how to achieve the version 2 state, while I will teach you, Gaara, how to use the version 1. Are you okay with it? Of course. Naruto grinned. I'm going to become even more badass. Yugito smiled kindly, and locked eyes with the sand witch. And you, Gaara? She asked. I know we have met on bad terms, but I think we can actually become close, the 2 of us. Her tone was embarrassed, and she presented her hand to the redhead. Can we make peace? Gaara looked at the hand. And shook it. The swordsman, Zabuza. The brat was walking. Bruised, yet walking. Zabuza refused to admit it out loud, but he was genuinely impressed by the blonde's affinity with his blades. The missing nin had judged him not to be really made for kenjutsu, due to a lack of balance and precision, until now. Killing Orochimaru had done him a lot of good. Why didn't he do it sooner? However, it wasn't enough. It was clear the brat was suffering from the flaws of dual-wielding styles, in spite of whatever boon he had gained after murdering the snake Sanin. The brain wasn't really hardwired to hold 2 weapons simultaneously, and Kazama wasn't ambidextrous by birth. Dual wielders also had to keep track of far more variables in a fight, and if they were in deadly duels they couldn't parry most attacks as easily as someone with 1 weapon, since they only had a weapon in each hand, while others would have 2 hands to hold their weapons, giving them more stability. This made melee combat extremely risky. In retrospect, it could explain why Orochimaru had been defeated. The fool had fought a literal 1-man army with a style made for dueling. What a fool. That's awful, Zabuza stated. You're pathetic, but it can be excused by your stupidity. You're using 2 swords while you aren't ambidextrous. The words were harsh, but necessary. The blonde had to build a resistance to insults in battle, or else he might lose his cool and become sloppy. Better badmouth his abilities than see him getting killed. Then what am I supposed to do with them? The brat frowned, still weary about a possible surprise attack. Good reflexes, the missing nin thought with appreciation. The boy was improving, and rather quickly. Use only 1 sword, and keep the other as a replacement, or give it to someone more worthy than yourself, like one of your clones, Zabuza snorted. Maybe Kitsune would use it well once he regained his original form. Seeing the boy in such state was terrible, and the swordsman hoped the problem would be solved quickly. Jiraiya had said a Yamanaka would help the werfox, but Zabuza wasn't so optimistic. A boy possessed by demons was a special case. Yagura had been a clear proof of that. The blonde glared at him, before staring at the kusanagi in his left hand. Zabuza briefly wondered if he was actually talking to his weapon, and the scene reminded him of Kisami's relationship with his sword, or Yagura's trances. The mad Mizukage sometimes seemed lost in his thoughts, but only a few people knew he was instead talking to the sinister demon lurking in his head, debating with it whether or not a bloodline user was to be skinned or burned alive, or if Zabuza deserved to be eaten alive by the monstrous Sanbi for his treason. The sudden transformation of the kusanagi into a small, purple snake snapped Zabuza out of his sinister memories. The reptile winded around Kazama's arm, disappearing inside his clothes. The blonde smirked. I'm loving them more and more with each passing day. Good for you, the missing nin grunted, secretly preparing to strike again, just to see if the brat would react fast. He however changed his mind, seeing the tension in the blonde's neck. Smart boy, he's trying to hide the fact he knows I'm going to attack, plus that snake will try to bite my arm the moment I try, I'm sure of it. Smirking slyly, Zabuza decided to disappoint the boy. I want you to do some exercises to practice. He showed him some swings of his blade. Repeat this again, and again, and again, until you can do them perfectly without even thinking about it, now. Compulsively, the blonde obeyed, much to the missing nin's delight. It was just like the time he trained Haku and Kimimaro. The two had been far more disciplined and obedient, eager to please their adoptive father. Thinking about Haku made Zabuza remember what Jiraiya had told him. Even if the Sannin wasn't really a great example of good parenting, he did have a point. Haku is growing up, he thought laconically. She's almost a woman, now. Maybe I should give her more freedom, indeed. Tell me, Zabuza, Jiraiya's voice whispered to his ear, snapping the man out of his thoughts. Why are you always so harsh with others? The missing nin snickered. If you're too soft, people mistake your gentleness for weakness, Kisame had told him when he was young, the day Zabuza massacred a genin class. Better to be feared than loved. Today, Zabuza, is the day you will mark your name in the minds of these sharks. May this ultimate crime end this madness once and for all. You didn't answer. You never learned, old fool, Zabuza asked, that to gain respect, you have to prove yourself as the biggest shark of the pool. Jiraiya said nothing. For once, he seemed to have put his brain to work and wisely decided to shut up. Zabuza focused on his blonde student, and then on the man spying on them. Drop the genjutsu, he ordered, staring at a tree's branches. The scent of oil is quite different from the woods, so I can smell you. I can cut this plant in half, just to be sure if you continue to stay hidden. Just how long that person was there, spying on them, he didn't know. He or she appeared to be quite skilled at stealth, to be able to sneak up on him. Kazama's eyes drifted from his sword to the tree, while Jiraiya assumed a bored expression. He had obviously noticed the intruder early, probably at the same time as the swordsman. Too bad, I wanted to do the reveal myself more dramatically. Zabuza simply snorted, as the branches changed shape, taking the form of of somebody. The person was clad in a gray and black, thin armor covering his whole body, and a shapeless white helmet covered his face. The mysterious figure leapt on the ground quite gracefully, his attire perfectly espousing his body movements. Who are you? He or she stinks oil, Zabuza thought. A spy, an assassin, only a scholar, the armored person declared with a soft, male voice. I apologize for my behavior, but I didn't want to disturb your training. My name is Kubaiko. Kazama Arashi, the blonde replied, apparently taking the man's lack of hostility for friendliness. Then again, if he had wanted to attack them, he would have already. Is it? The armored man touched his helmet. I guess it's true. Depending on the world which you do belong, you could have been called Uzumaki Naruto. How did you cross into this universe? Zabuza felt his blood freeze in his veins. Judging their expression, his two companions were in the same state of shock. What did you say? I asked. How did you open a way between this reality and another, he replied. My helmet indicates your physical signature is different from this reality, proving you aren't from it originally. The data I gathered on the breach indicate 13 people crossed it, and since your physical signature is different from the reality you left, the only explanation I find is that it's not the first time you did it. The man explained, looking at Zabuza. And your own signature is different from your companion, so one joined the other during the other's travel. Am I right? Zabuza's eyes narrowed. Who the hell are you? Well, the man shrugged. Someone like you, another world wanderer. The puppet master, Sasori. It's not what you think. Chibaku stated, trying very hard to hide the stolen bra behind his back. I swear, he's telling the truth, Kakashi nodded. I was there. We were absolutely not stealing girls' personal possessions, Chibaku's perverted counterpart smiled innocently. It's a big misunderstanding. Sasori eyed them blankly. Do you really think I'm going to believe you? Do they think I am a fool? Chibaku shrugged. Oh come on, Sasori-sensei. You always use that nickname when you lie to me, or, rather, try, the puppet master cut in. If you ever want to hide something from me, you still have a very long road in front of you, my disciple. Crap, his student cursed. I forgot you were a living lie detector. Sasori angrily sat on Haku's bed, joining his fingers. So, can you explain me why were you breaking into one of your comrades' room and stealing her bra? I hope you have a good excuse, because I certainly will have a hard time believing it. Well, Chibaku smiled, embarrassed. If I say it was to increase my infiltration skills, then you certainly did a sloppy job, Sasori deadpanned. It took me only 1 minute to hear you unlock the door and intercept you. Plus, if you really wanted to train, you would have asked for advice from me and certainly not these two, he pointed out, eyeing the two covert and outspoken perverts before shrugging. I thought your perverted streak wouldn't advance to this stage, but I was apparently mistaken. Those photos were bad, but nothing compared to this. I hoped you wouldn't follow their example. Wait, Chibaku jumped on place, as pale as a ghost. You knew. You can't spend years tutoring someone without discovering at least a few of his hidden dark secrets, Sasori said. I tolerated your eccentricities, as they weren't really harmful to your development. I was sure it was simply a minor quirk you would get rid of on your own, so I didn't bother correcting it. How could I have been such a fool? I was impressed you managed to take photos of an elite kunoichi without getting caught, but now you have lost all common sense. Oh come on, the pervert Naruto complained, Chibaku being obviously crushed mentally. What is wrong with being a pervert, anyway? It's a waste of your potential, the redhead puppeteer replied, before locking eyes with his student. Chibaku, don't you understand that obsession with naked women is a loss of time? It occupies your mind and prevents you from developing your creativity. It adds tension and mental instability. And it makes you act like a socially maladjusted idiot. And it will weaken you on a battlefield. And, I can't stop myself, his student whined, theatrically putting his hand on his chest. The boy was a good actor. I have this perverseness inside me. Like a darkness corrupting all my thoughts. I guess I will have to cure you manually, then, Sasori replied, cracking his artificial fingers. A few seals should make your sexuality completely nullified. Wait, that's brainwashing. The pervert Naruto put himself between his counterpart and Sasori. That's criminal. It's pragmatic, Sasori countered. And it's not like I didn't test these seals. I have put them on myself, and never before have I felt this good. Kakashi rolled his one eye. I almost said you were not a good example, but not being one myself, I guess it would be hypocritical. But Sasori, Chibaku complained. You told me thousands of times that I shouldn't become a carbon copy of yourself. I meant it, Sasori stated. However, I cannot tolerate such behavior from you ever again. They corrupted me. His student pointed his finger at the two perverts accusingly. They used some damn book too. Suddenly, the pervert Naruto slammed his hands together, filling the whole room with smoke. Taken by surprise, Sasori prepared to release his puppets. Have they betrayed you? Let's do this. Dozens of girly voices shouted. Harem no jutsu. When the smoke cleared, Sasori gaped in pure shock. Dozens of naked girls surrounded him, seizing his arms, entwining him. His student's nose was bleeding profusely, while Kakashi was laughing loudly. What? Was the only word Sasori's lips managed to blurt out. It's the ultimate perverting technique. One of the girls smirked. No man can resist it. Sasori disagreed as he regained himself by poking her face, dispelling the henge. He then used a chakra-disrupting seal he had placed on the room's ground to eliminate all the Bunshin. How? The pervert's eyes were wide open, just as his mouth was. That's impossible. I don't have hormones anymore, Sasori told him blankly. That's a very crass technique you have there, but since it managed to make me blink, I assume it has a lot of potential for surprise attacks. That almost killed me, Chibaku whined. How did you get the idea? The pervert smirked. Gigi told me no technique could beat him, so I invented this on the spot to prove him wrong. Cool, how does it work? Sasori absent-mindedly looked through a window, barely listening to the conversation. His student's obsession had grown out of control, but he had a point. A seal might not be the best option. He would re-educate Chibaku for the better, or maybe transform him into a puppet too, removing the limits of the flesh. The puppeteer almost had an heart attack. A masked man was observing the house from the outside. His mismatched eyes met Sasori's, and he joined his hands. Everyone. Sasori panicked, unsealing his puppets. Mata. Everyone barely had the time to blink before a powerful shockwave blew the house apart. The sage, Jiraiya. Jiraiya had a bad feeling about today. Not that he was naturally pessimistic, quite the contrary, yet his intuition never tricked him. When he had a bad feeling, catastrophes always happened. Tsunade discovering him peeping on her, the Kyuubi being released, a crazy Uchiha trying to murder Naruto, and so on. It was exactly like Tsunade's winning streaks. Strangely, the new guy was very strange. Jiraiya didn't feel uneasy around him. It had to be something else. You are a world wanderer? Kazama asked, pale. Like us. Not like you, the other shook his head. We do not use the same method to travel, yours is so much better. Much to Jiraiya's surprise, the mysterious man shook hands with the shocked Kazama. Please, Kubaiko said, what kind of power allowed you to transport multiple people in another reality? We never managed to get past 200 kilograms on one jump, yet you did without the use of a dimensional resonator. You cut through the veil without creating a mass imbalance between two universes. How? Did you use protons, quarks, a particle accelerator? Stop the gibberish, Zabuza grunted. I did not understand anything. Me too. Kazama frowned. Could you first explain things in comprehensive terms? Forgive me, Kubaiko excused himself. When I'm speaking about science, I can't stop myself. Then again, it's my job. You're a scientist? Jiraiya asked. You said we. The man nodded. I am a member of a small group of scientists studying the infinity. We are trying to explore and map all the realities we discover. I was visiting this reality when my equipment noticed an anomaly, and I came to investigate. I found the breach, and then you. The infinity. You mean the multiverse. The team's surprise was obvious. There are other people traveling those realities. You are the first group I met, Kubaiko replied. Our own is composed of 4 people, and we thought we were the only ones, you just proved we were wrong. I should have expected this, as everything is possible in the infinity. Wait. Zabuza's jaw dropped. You said you were trying to map the multiverse. Isn't it impossible? This is our goal, Kubaiko nodded. We explore it and study it. The infinity is full of wonders, and for everything we discover, 10 new mysteries pop up. Our quest is long and hard, and might never end, but it is very rewarding. I suppose your own travels were marvelous too. Zabuza and Kazama locked eyes, embarrassed. Well, the former trailed off. To be honest, it sucked. A lot. Ah, Kubaiko said. Let me guess, you visited a reality where lizards became the dominant species instead of hominoids. Not really. The blonde breathed deeply. We have been attacked. It was at this moment Jiraiya realized the source of his bad feeling, and stared at Kubaiko. Wait, did you say 13 people crossed the breach? Yes, that's what my helmet concluded when I analyzed the breach. He seemed surprised by his interlocutors' horrified faces. It is a problem. Shit, Kazama shouted, taking Kubaiko off guard. They are here, so soon. Good, Zabuza snickered, even if his tone was saying otherwise. They owe me a companion, plus interest. No, it's not good, the blonde snapped. Jiraiya's house is not far from the breach, and our friends are unaware of the danger. Scratch that, Madara must already be attacking them. He showed the palm of his hand. Worse, the counter indicates I still have to wait 1 whole day to use the transport safely, so we can't escape. Keep your composure, brat, Jiraiya said, preparing to unleash the sage mode. We can save them now, if we hurry, and kick your pursuers' asses at the same occasion. Or I hope. Madara Uchiha helped found Konoha, and was one of the strongest ninja to ever live. 3 would be extremely hard to deal with. I'm afraid to be lost, Kubaiko interrupted them calmly. You are under attack. Maybe I can help you. Really? Thanks. I will explain you on the way. No sooner did Kazama finish did he ran toward Jiraiya's house. Can you give me a quick briefing about our enemy's competencies? Jiraiya asked Zabuza as they followed. We can make a strategy and prepare. There are 3 of them, the swordsman explained. All with the Sharingan. One has some strange powers over gravity and can shoot lasers, and also reanimate corpses to control them. Another is a master swordsman and a real powerhouse, with a huge collection of weapons and a Biju killing technique. Biju killing. I'm not sure how it works, but the guy lost his eyes in the deal, so I doubt he will do it again. I don't know much on the last one, but I heard he can survive lethal wounds easily. Great. 3 immortals, Jiraiya gritted his teeth. I guess I might have to use that technique. Dying would be nothing compared to losing my pupil. The dead consuming seal would probably be able to take care of them. Nothing else. One can apparently summon strange masked beasts, I'm not sure. Uchiha Madara. Kubaiko wondered out loud, interrupting Jiraiya's discussion. You are pursued by Uchiha Madara. You know him. Yes, the armored man answered to Kazama. Probably more than you all. Is he the same madman obsessed by Hashirama and his clan's betrayal? A stupid question, of course he is, I guess some things never change, he shrugged. It will be an honor to fight at your side. We should prepare a formation, Jiraiya said, unleashing his sage mode. Maybe. He stopped talking, as his brain computed new information. No, he trailed off, recognizing the too well-known scent of dead corpses burning. Please, it can't be possible. Yet, the second he saw what was left of the village near his mansion, he realized that yes, it was. Houses were burning, consumed by a black fire, the earth had been scorched and blood had been shed. You are so slow, a masked man whispered, his armor red and his arms crossed. He was standing atop a pile of corpses. Jiraiya recognized the villagers he used to visit from time to time, all of them. The baker selling him bread, the pretty daughter of a merchant, the kids attending the local school. I almost thought you fled, depriving me of a good fight, the monster stated calmly. How fortunate. I was wrong. You bastard, Jiraiya growled, his rage boiling. You didn't need to kill them. They were defenseless people. Don't be so bothered by this vermin, Uchiha Madara declared softly, descending from his makeshift mountain. These rats did not deserve to live. They didn't even have the will to protect their home or flee to save themselves. They simply whined, hoping you would bail them out of trouble. His tone was full of disgust. Culling the weak is the strong's right and duty. Once all those unworthy to live have been wiped out from the face of the earth, then the worthy will strive, Kubaiko continued. Violence shall break men and free them in a way they cannot understand. The flames of war shall purge them from their flaws, and in the burning world, life will not be offered, but earned. Uchiha Madara stayed silent a moment. How do you know the creed? Because you would never cease repeating it to Hashirama, the armored man explained, taking off his helmet. That motto reminds me of old times. Jiraiya blinked, recognizing the familiar, wrinkled face. Impossible. You, Uchiha Madara asked, imitated by Zabuza and Kazama. It has been a while, Madara, whispered the lips of Tobarama Senju, Nadaime Hokage of Konoha. I hope kicking your ass will be as satisfying as it was decades ago. The cat, Yugito. Getting up, slightly dizzied, Yugito quickly regained her awareness. The house had been brought down, a few meters away, reduced to a pile of rocks and wood. In the center of a large crater encompassing the whole area Naruto, Haku, Gaara and Kitsune were standing, recovering from the brutal shock that had put them on the ground. Nibby, I need the soul vision. I need to check up the rest of us. They were in the mansion. No problem, kitten. I assume we are under attack. Yes, the lady replied. Her sight changing, Yugito scanned the remains of the house. Fortunately, Sasori, Kakashi, Chibaku and his perverted counterpart were still alive, protected by what looked to be a summoned huge toad. Hello, my friends, a deep voice declared, Yugito's eyes immediately drifting in its direction. 2 masked men appeared atop the ruined house, one with one Sharingan, the other with mismatched dojutsu. The one-eyed ninja stared at Naruto, his soul a literal endless pit of hatred and sorrow. We were visiting this world, so we decided to drop by. I unfortunately forgot to bring you gifts. Jerks, the blonde little girl snapped, Kitsune roaring next to her. Oh, so you decided to recruit. The man with mismatched eyes glared at Yugito, and then at Gaara. His soul was one big ball of depressing fatalism and pessimism. This man did not care about anything, and hated the world, but especially himself. How futile. Mother doesn't like you, Gaara hissed, sand whirling around her. She wants your blood. I am afraid I will have to deny her request, the man replied. I assume you are talking of the Shukaku. Only its vessel can conjure the power of the desert, after all. Your visage reminds me, the one-eyed man peered at Yugito's face, and probably recognized her. Yugito ni, Jinchuriki of the Nibi. Enchanted to meet you. For someone wanting to kill kids, he's surprisingly polite, the Nibi mused. Not bothering to answer, the blonde lady quickly made hand seals. Mouse hairball, she thought, firing mouse-shaped fireballs from her mouth at the two Uchiha. The one-eyed Madara shrugged, air twisting around him to consume the projectiles. It's not polite to show disrespect to your elders, kid. Talking to you is a waste of time, she replied, preparing to strike again. Right, Naruto agreed, forming a Rasengan in her hand. Don't you ever learn? The Uchiha with mismatched eyes asked. How many times will I have to beat you into submission, until to cease to rise up? I will never surrender, Naruto boasted. Even if you break my legs, even if I can't stand, I will just crawl and bite you. Well said. I like this kitten more and more with each passing minute. Naruto, Yugito smiled. This determination will get you far. The man fell silent, narrowing his dojutsu. I do not understand, why are you still fighting? I outclass you so much, it's like a mouse fighting a dragon. Fate has clearly designed me as your superior in every domain, so why won't you give up? Naruto smirked. To spit on you, and prove your fate, is just crap. Everyone stared at her in shock. I am sick of your fate talk. She shouted. Yes, I was born with the Kyuubi. Yes, I'm not born with super-powered eyes. I don't have a bloodline limit, a clan, a cool sword, talent, or whatever. Ever since I tried to become a ninja, people told me I would stay a friendless loser forever. And I proved them wrong. The girl glared at Uchiha Madara, who was obviously taken aback by the outburst. I have found a family. I have found friend. I have trained until I could fight a Biju. So screw fate. It's just a scam. Silence. A scam. The Madara with the mismatched eyes leaned his head to the left side, his stare full of hate. His soul began to burn with the fire of rage, and Yugito annulled the vision before it could blind her. Fate. A scam. Then, he roared, laughing madly. While his partner cringed slightly, the girls were simply astonished by the spectacle. Do you know how much this scam took from me? The Uchiha glared at Naruto, and if looks could kill, she would have dropped dead on the spot. Do you know? Yugito winced at the shriek, and Naruto apparently didn't find anything worth replying. Do you know how much I lost and sacrificed on the altar of this scam? Madara shrieked, any hint of composure having vanished. I lost my brother, my clan, my freedom, my life. It left me nothing but memories, so I could revel in fear of its almighty decisions, and a destiny to fulfill. What does a immature child like you knows of fate? I'm sick of hearing you talk. Suddenly, something sent the remains of the house flying, making the two Uchiha leap a few meters backward. A huge red toad emerged, 4 males under it. You're just whining, Sasori stated, 2 puppets, looking like armors of wood, standing next to him. Fate is the excuse men use to better accept their current condition, or find answers to question he doesn't bother to find the true answer. Yes, you suffered and lost people, probably for nothing. Deal with it. If fate does exist, then I must thank it for making us cross path again, Kakashi stated, taking back the part of his mask covering the Sharingan. Give me my students back. Now. Madara chuckled madly. With pleasure. 2 objects descended from the sky and crashed where Kakashi used to be before he jumped to the side with the others. 2 boys stood, wearing white robes meshing badly with their strange, purple eyes. Kakashi-sensei, they both declared at the same time, why did you abandon us? The gray-haired man didn't finish his sentence. He looked at the rest of his group. Leave them to me, it's my duty, I owe them this. Alright, Yugito stated, glaring at the Madara with mismatched eyes. You use his own students against him. How can you be so despicable? It doesn't matter, the man shrugged. Nothing matters. We are just puppets, submitted to the strings of a will none of you fools can understand. Nothing of what we do matter, in the end. He raised his arms. Only those fulfilling their destiny can progress and strive, and those who resist it are doomed to be crushed. I will prove it, by crushing your empty, meaningless lives. Bring it on. Naruto snapped, charging. Author's notes. First thing, I originally didn't plan this chapter like it. In the original plot, Madara would have intercepted them a few chapters later, and Kubaiko wouldn't have appeared until later. Chapter 21. Turning Point. Zabuza didn't hesitate to take advantage of Amaterasu's surprise. He immediately attacked, rushing toward the warrior faster than the wind, and swung his blade. Opting for a vertical slice, the swordsman felt his lust for blood boiling under his skin. Kisame, this is for you. The beheading knife, as Zabuza nicknamed the sword he used for most of his career, was swiftly stopped. For a few seconds, the swordsman stayed motionless, unable to believe his own eyes. Madara had seized the blade between the thumb and palm of his left hand, bending his legs not to be crushed under the weapon's weight. The beheading sword, Madara stated, unfazed by the attack. A fine weapon for a fine warrior. It was designed to behead horses, at the time samurais ruled on battlefields. Behind his mask, the legendary ninja seemed nostalgic. Good times. Don't you agree, Tobirama? The age of samurai ended long ago, Madara, the man wearing the Nadaime Hokage's face muttered, sealing his helmet somewhere in his armor. I thought you agreed, when we founded Konoha together. My clan agreed. But I, Amaterasu, never forsook the old traditions. The Uchiha hummed the air. The ninja way never quite convinced me. The monumental failure of Konoha just confirmed my fears. The world of deceit shaped by the ninja is an abomination. He absent-mindedly caught Zabuza's punch with his other, free hand, not even bothered by the sneak attack. A world of treachery, where values like duty and truth have been sacrificed on the altar of fear and lies, must be burned to the ground and purged by steel. The ninja system must be destroyed, and its incarnations wiped off the surface of this world. Of all worlds. If you hate ninjas, then why are you using their weapons and techniques against them? Kubaiko asked. At that moment, Zabuza realized that Kazama and Jiraiya were whispering to each other, probably plotting to take their enemy off guard. Looking at Amaterasu, the former Kiri-nin saw that the Uchiha's lone eye was entirely focused on the Nadaime Hokage. A grave tactical error, as some of the greatest warriors died because of arrogance. Unless he is not alone. Zabuza's blood froze in his veins. He has backup, but where? His eyes drifted from Amaterasu to the mountain of corpses behind him. Under it, Amaterasu chuckled, and the former Kiri-nin understood the bastard had read his mind. Indeed, he said, but Zabuza didn't know if he was talking to him or the Nadaime Hokage. Ninjutsu in itself is just a weapon, a tool that all warriors can use. When used dishonorably, however, releasing his grip on Zabuza's blade in hand, Amaterasu allowed the man to leap backward, next to his ally's side. The ninja system promotes dishonor, treachery, and cowardice. It traps the earth in a state of perpetual cold war, of a realm where vermin like spies and backstabbers are prospering. I will annihilate the ninja ideology, and make a new world of warfare, one where lies will not exist and where the law of Bushido rules supreme. This will be hell on earth, not heaven, Kubaiko replied. The Bushido, the samurai code, promotes values like honor, duty, and courage, but it is incompatible with peace and evolution. That is why the ninjas replaced the samurais, because their continued existence had trapped civilization in a feudal age of warfare, where the strong oppressed the weak and where strength was more important than happiness and prosperity. His brothers were dead. They had come to kill them all. The men wielding red cloaks and daggers. In Kiri, his parents had taught him, brigands didn't count. Rapists, beggars and murderers were nothing unusual. Only they mattered. The blood police. Yondaime-sama deemed Momochi Hakura's blood to contain the seed of failure. Their voice was cold. Their faces were white. Their eyes were empty. They were not humans, just demons in disguise. He shamed Kurigakure. It cannot happen again. The impure lineage must be exterminated. They first killed Zabuza's mother, right in front of the whole family with their bloody daggers. Then they killed his father, carving his heart out of his body. Then they killed his brothers. Only he survived. This poison can induce fake death for a time, my son, his father had taught him. People think you are dead, and will leave you alone. Alone to prepare to fight again. He had laced the poison with his knife, faking suicide, as his father had told him. But his brothers hadn't been lucky. They had been too mad, too enraged, to follow the plan. Only Zabuza had obeyed. He had been a coward. He hadn't fought to defend his family. And he was alone, in his house, alone with the corpses and the scavengers that came to loot his home. Alone, with the blood of his family on the ground. Because they were not fit to live. Snapping out of his ghastly memories, Zabuza looked at the mountain of flesh. Guys, he whispered to Jiraiya and Kazama. Under it. That is exactly what I seek. If Amaterasu could hear them, he didn't show it. Peace is an illusion. A beautiful, misleading one, yet an illusion nonetheless. War and conflict are the essence of human progress. We are never more disciplined or efficient than when we fight. We are all sharks. The teen with the blue skin smirked, showing his teeth. He offered a piece of meat he had stolen to Zabuza. To survive, you must be the biggest in the pool. The two of us are the biggest sharks in this lake. He eyed the port, full of poverty, orphans and cutthroats. The place Zabuza considered to be his home, after the first one burned out. But now, we must move on into the ocean. He stared at the Ninja Academy, the blue dome hiding the blood inside. Well, I did. Now, it's your time. He gave Zabuza a knife. Time to make a name for yourself, young shark. May your actions end this madness Yagura calls human progress. I know, I can feel them. The toad sage now looked a bit like a frog, his eyes yellow. The former Kiri Nin could feel the energy emanating from the Sanin. I don't know what they are, but there are 4 of them. I can sense hearts beatings, human hearts, but the rest of their bodies are not composed of flesh. So killing each other savagely is a sign of progress? Kubaiko asked. Kazama frowned. The masked creatures we saw through Ghost's portal. Savagely. No. Properly, yes. Amaterasu raised his hand. An honorable, good battle, against valuable opponents. What more can I ask? I missed fighting people like you, Tobarama, for too long. Kisame Hoshigake was fine, but young and broken by the corruption of the ninja world. Fighting one of my archenemies once again is something I dreamed to do ever since I discovered these alternate realities. He stared at the Nadaime. When I heard you had vanished, using that experimental space-time manipulation jutsu to escape the Kinkaku force, I thought you were dead. But now, I know what happened. You crossed the veil between worlds, years before this kid. It had almost been my end, Kubaiko replied. Thankfully, a more experienced traveler saved me, before I was lost through time and space. But whatever techniques you now use to travel is nothing compared to the blonde, is it? Or else, you would have either escaped or brought back up. Amaterasu crossed his arms. No matter. Susano shall extract all your secrets from your brain once I kill you with my bare hands. He stared at the 3 others. Of course, this will be a duel. One for each of you, so everyone can test his own limits. The winners shall come out of this ordeal stronger than ever. You are all kids. The Yondaime Mizukage stared at them, and spoke softly. He was short, had gray hair, a large scar on his cheek, and pink eyes devoid of emotion. He was wearing green and white robes, but Zabuza could almost smell the blood hidden under them. He was a predator. The biggest the boy would probably ever see. This ordeal shall make you adults. Better, faster, stronger. Killers. He grinned lightly at the assembled genin, and then locked eyes with the young Zabuza, chilling him to the bone. Kill, bleed, and grow. Only the strong survive. Tasting the flesh of the weak make one stronger than ever. He raised his hand. Entertain me. Then, Amaterasu snapped his fingers. Instantly, the mountain of corpses erupted, and 4 creatures emerged from the bodies. They were made of black threads and yarns, intertwining to look like legs and arms. Each possessed a mask serving as their face. One represented a red dragon, another was purple and featureless, another was white, and seemed to represent a wolf, the last was yellow, and appeared to be made to look like a snake. 3 ran toward Zabuza. Kazama and Jiraiya, 1, the red dragon, stayed motionless, and Amaterasu charged at Kubaiko. The earth grudge fear, the Sannin explained, forming a Rasengan and waiting for the white wolf mask to come. Each mask contains a heart that makes the structure function. They can use elemental manipulation, and the threads are hard enough to pierce your body. As long as I can pierce them, Zabuza replied, rushing at the purple mask. Same deal, Kazama said, extending the kusanagi at the yellow snake. The creature easily avoided the sword, and opened its mouth, unleashing a powerful blast of fire. The blonde jumped on the side, and the attack went past him, hitting a burning house, which resulted in a huge explosion. Leaving the boy to his own fight, Zabuza focused on his opponent. The purple mask shifted, and a hole opened on it. A rain of shuriken was projected at the swordsman, who used the beheading knife as a shield while running. Slamming the blade on the mask, making it crack a bit, the swordsman had to take a step back to dodge the threads. He avoided being crushed, and swung his blade to cut the creature in two. The shuriken the creature had shot before moved into the blade's way, deflecting it. They winded around the yarns forming the monster's arms, and began to melt. Elemental manipulation. Zabuza grunted, as the liquid metal solidified, taking the form of two long swords, one in each of the creature's hands. It sharpened them, and then charged at Zabuza. Not wasting his breath, the swordsman easily parried one horizontal swing, and lowered his head to dodge the second blade. The monster took a step back to avoid Zabuza's counterattack, and twirled like a top, quickly advancing toward the swordsman with the clear intent of shredding him to death. Using his beheading knife as a shield, the former Kiri Nin checked the monster, making it lose its balance. The mask shifted uncomfortably, and it began to agitate its blades like a madman, assaulting Zabuza with multiple quick strikes. On the defensive, the missing Nin grunted when two swings grazed his chest and shoulders skin slightly. Waiting for an opportunity, Zabuza suddenly seized one. Pushing the creature back with another thrust of his blade, he headbutted the mask with all his strength. He grinned slightly when he heard the sound of it cracking. The creature jumped backward, half his mask falling down on the ground. A pulsating heart was revealed, and the monster seemed to hiss in pain. Its two blades melted, and fused. In less than 2 seconds, the masked monster was wielding an exact copy of the beheading knife. The man with the beheading blade stared at him darkly, his red cloak floating. So you want to kill me? Has Yondaime-sama decided to test us? I'm not here for Yagura, he replied. I am here for the blade. So you want my blade in my place? For Yondaime-sama's respect. For my ambition. For my land. For power, but more importantly, for my family. Your family was impure, the member of the blood police replied with a cold tone, as if he was talking about weather. You proved yourself not to have inherited their defect. You should thank me, to have freed you from them before they could infect you with their weakness. They were keeping you down. Currently, you're the only one restraining me, Zabuza shot back, charging. To advance, to accomplish my goals, I will kill you. Unimpressed, the swordsman waggled the fingers of his free hand. Bring it on, copycat. The creature hissed again, and rushed. Its sword was lifted for a vertical strike. Unfazed, Zabuza waited for the assault. When the creature swung its weapon, the swordsman simply took a step to his left side. The beast's sword ended up embedded in the ground, and it didn't lift it again as fast as it should have. In one horizontal swing, Zabuza cut the mask in half. The mask and the heart inside shattered in a mix of blood and wood, and the monster's body fell on the ground, lifeless. Idiot. Zabuza smashed what was left of the heart under his foot, just to be sure. I wielded this kind of blade almost all my life. I know all its strengths, and weaknesses. He turned to see what his allies were doing. The Nadaime Hokage and Amaterasu were locked in a duel of ninjutsu, the former using water and the latter fire. Kazama's kusanagi pierced the yellow snake mask. Blood fell on the ground, quickly followed by the creature itself. Jiraiya had literally pulverized his opponent. It had been reduced to a large red spot, in the middle of a snow-white field. Haku created a wall of ice. Zabuza-sama, I did it. Kimimaro smiled, making a snow castle nearby. Good, he replied, caressing her hair. She was so young, so innocent, so eager to gain love and adoration. Everything he wasn't himself. But nobody, not even Kisame, knew how much he would give up to not change that. No one had to face the ordeals as he, or Haku, or Kimimaro, did. He would make Yagura's madness stop once and for all. An ice user. Zabuza glared at the snow. It didn't have the time to put its abilities to use. Jiraiya stared at the two other destroyed beasts. They all seemed to be able to use unique elemental releases. Magnet release, explosion release, scorch release, he stated, looking at the last monster. It was currently burning the villagers, dead bodies and houses, reducing the place to big field of ashes. I can't imagine how long it took to collect these hearts. Years. Amaterasu apparently listened to their conversation, while warping space to absorb a miniature tsunami summoned by the Nadaime. It has been a while since I have lost one of my hearts, let alone 3, I am impressed. He stared at the group. Why don't we join forces? We already refused your offer before, Madara. Kazama summoned his chains of chakra. We are not interested. You should be. No matter how much you deny it, we are more alike than you think. We were both born with unique powers, and a great destiny. We are the sons of powerful clans, and we both have rejected Konoha and its ideals. The only thing you lack is a vision, youngster. He stared at Zabuza. And you, I can see your entire story in your eyes. The desire for power animates us both. The desire to be the strongest, the greatest, to change the world in our image, we share it. I am a reflection of you, Zabuza, Yagura smirked sadistically. The darkness lurking in some corner of your mind. We are survivors. Predators. We eat the flesh of the weak, and we never give up on our prey. So why don't you join my pack, instead of trying to destroy it? Because I am not you, Zabuza replied, Kisame and the 5 other members of the 7 swordsmen backing him up. You are just a deluded monster. A rabid, insane animal. I am a man. I want something other than bloodshed, meat and survival, Yagura. He raised his blade. I want a future. We may have some things in common, Zabuza agreed. And that's where our similarities end. I am not going to join someone that killed my teammate just because we share some qualities. You represent everything I stood against, Madara. He joined his fingers. I cannot let a second Yagura succeed at creating another Kurigakure. Then this is regrettable, Amaterasu stated, the last masked beast winding around his body and vanishing under his armor. Naruto Uzumaki is the only need I need alive. The rest of you shall perish by my hand. No, you shall. The Nadaime joined his fingers, the liquid he had created previously accumulating around him. Water release. Water drive. Agon. Zabuza shouted at the same time, the 2 ninjas combining their technique. The water took the form of multiple dragons, all flying at Amaterasu. The Uchiha stayed unfazed. His eye became a hole in space that absorbed the attack. The mad samurai leapt backward, avoiding Kazama's chains. Jiraiya seized the opportunity to hit him in the back with his right palm. Black spots began to cover Amaterasu's armor. The Uchiha attempted to punch the Sannin, who quickly lowered his head and slammed his fist on the bastard's face. Madara was pushed a few meters backward by the blow, but he appeared more surprised than hurt. It should have gone through me. The Uchiha glared at Jiraiya. This is the same technique that Puppeteer used on Susanoo, isn't it? The basis is the same, the Sannin replied, beginning a jutsu. No more intangibility or space warping. I still have the Sharingan, the Uchiha replied, his visible pupil changing form. Heavenly fire. Amaterasu. Surprised, Jiraiya barely had the time to blink before being put on fire. Ignoring the man's shrieks, Zabuza rushed to hit Amaterasu, Kazama following him. Kubaiko ran to Jiraiya's side, and the Uchiha locked eyes with Zabuza. The samurai suddenly vanished. Zabuza then distinctly felt the bastard's punch connect with his face. His nose breaking under the strength of the attack, the swordsman from Kiri was propelled on his back. Quickly getting up, he saw Kazama trying to impale the Uchiha with the Kusanagi. An exact copy of the blonde's blade appeared in his hand, and he easily parried the Uzumaki's swings. He quickly thrust the boy back, dodged his chains, and grabbed him by the neck. The 2 locked eyes, and Kazama paled, instantly knocked out. A powerful genjutsu, probably. You are too valuable to be put in danger. The masked monster from before lurked out of the man's armor, seized the unconscious blonde, and crawled away. Amaterasu then rotated to face Zabuza. As I said, you shall die today. You cannot stand against me. Against war-made flesh. I shall destroy you all. Yagura growled, taking a monstrous, reptilian form. I shall eat you, and become stronger by devouring your strength. I am the ultimate predator, and to me, you're just praise. I doubt it, Kubaiko stated, appearing at Zabuza's side. Let's take him down. Together, we can defeat him, Kushier Kuriora stated calmly, Yagura adopting the shape of the Sanbi. Before his reinforcements arrive, the swordsman from Mist frowned. No, both Amaterasu and Kubaiko stared at him in surprise. We must fight together, if we want to beat him. The Nadaime stated, pointing a finger at the half-burned body of Jiraiya. He won't be able to help you. If that bastard spawn reaches the other Madara, then they will teleport away with the brat and use him for whatever goal they have, and everything is lost, Zabuza growled. He might be an idiot, but he's still one of my students. I'm the only one that gets to hurt him. He glared at Amaterasu. I will take care of him. But he leave now. Zabuza ordered as he blocked Amaterasu's path. Kubaiko stared at him with a clear look of respect. I will not fail, he promised, using a shunshin to vanish. That is very noble of you. The Uchiha snapped his fingers, and the kusanagi in his hand was replaced by a long, black katana. I doubt you will delay me for long, but I admire your valor. I shall make your death as epic as I possibly can. Sacrificing yourself to buy time for your allies to escape your failed coup. Yagura chuckled, his eyes burning with insanity. The shredded and dismembered bodies of his defeated enemies were lying next to his reptilian, green legs. You cannot even slow me down. Looking sideways, on the back of Kisame, Zabuza eyed his companion, Mangetsu Hazuka. The young man was smirking confidently. Zabuza-sama is the heart of our revolution, and my superior. His experience is too precious to be lost. He breathed heavily. Please, Zabuza-sama. Survive. Mangetsu. Zabuza whispered. He didn't know if his friend had heard him. If only he hadn't been wounded. We can't do anything for him, Kisame muttered with regret. His death will be avenged. He was lying, of course. Everything had been lost that day. Roaring, Zabuza swung his beheading knife. Amaterasu dodged it, and replied with a horizontal slash. Zabuza blocked the blow with his blade, facing a tornado of steel. Most of the cuts were aimed at the swordsman's head and legs, and Zabuza felt quickly outmatched. His enemy was incredibly fast. Soon, he felt the katana grazing his skin at different points of his body. Calmly, Zabuza tried to propel Amaterasu back with a thrust of his blade. However, the Uchiha wasn't like his minion, and was barely shaken. Zabuza faked a low cut, only to change it to a high one. The surprised samurai still dodged the beheading blow, but the blade touched his mask, damaging it slightly. Impressive, Amaterasu stated. Now, my turn. His katana slipped through Zabuza's guard, and slashed the left side of his face vertically. Pain raced through the Kiri-nin's body, as he lost half of his vision. My eye. He roared, feeling the blood descending toward his mouth. I am not stopping there. With his last eye, Zabuza saw Amaterasu raising his blade. Swallow reversal. When the Uchiha stroked downward from above, the former Kiri-nin managed to use the beheading knife to shield himself. But when Amaterasu immediately struck again, from below this time, he didn't react fast enough. Steel met his left arm roughly at the elbow, and cut it in half. Shrieking in pain, Zabuza put his last hand on the wound, trying to prevent it from bleeding. His sword had fallen on the ground, and Amaterasu looked upon him. It seems I have. He didn't finish his sentence. Zabuza head-butted his mask, and seized his blade with his last hand before the Uchiha could recover. Using all the strength he still had, the swordsman attempted to smash the samurai with the enormous sword, swinging it with one arm. However, it was all for naught. The Uchiha deflected the sword with his katana, and in one strong motion, made Zabuza lose the grasp he had on his blade. Unwilling to give up, the missing nin punched the bastard's mask the moment he knew that he wouldn't be able to hold onto his weapon, moving faster than his opponent could react, and breaking it utterly. Its shards of wood fell on the ground, and the former swordsman of Kiri stared at Amaterasu's face. It wasn't a human face. If you want a fistfight, I will gladly give it to you. The Uchiha dropped his weapon, and punched Zabuza in the chest, breaking ribs. His face's flesh was deathly pale, but also sick and twisted. The visage had neither lips nor a nose. The red Sharingan were bleeding slightly, making the whole thing look like a surreal horror. Distracted by the image, Zabuza unfortunately let his guard down as the bastard then began to beat the hell out of the swordsman from the mist, his blows savage and merciless. Amaterasu seized the swordsman's hair, and pushed his head against his armored knee. The former Kiri-nin felt blood against his tongue, and maybe one tooth. He rushed to recuperate the beheading knife, using it as a shield. Amaterasu's next punch shattered it utterly, before connecting with his chest, drawing more blood. Zabuza couldn't believe his own eyes. The sword that stopped a demon's assault, torn apart Yagura's demonic flesh, and never failed him, had been broken, reduced to mere black shards. Your beheading sword is now broken, just as you will soon be. Amaterasu stood over the wounded swordsman from Kiri. No, Zabuza growled, tightening his hand on the pommel and the shard attached to it. It's the beheading knife to me. Amaterasu frowned. Why so? Swords are made to cut. Zabuza, mustering all the strength he still had, attempted to hack his enemy with his broken blade. Knives are made to butcher. Amaterasu easily caught his hand, stopping the blow. Your bones, on the other hand, are made to be broken, he stated. Right after, he tightened his grip and crushed Zabuza's forearm. The swordsman heard his bones being broken in a loud crack. He dropped the pommel, and seized it with his teeth, biting through the bandages around his mouth. In a flash, he slammed the shard on the surprised samurai's skull, making it break in a flow of white blood and bones. Amaterasu fell loudly on the ground, and Zabuza jumped on his body. He shredded apart the corpse time and time again, blinded by his bloodlust. Suddenly, no more body. Only the ground. A powerful kick hit him in the nose. He was propelled backward, but he refused to lie down. He stood still, even if he didn't know how. Amaterasu was completely unharmed, except one of his eyes had turned white. I underestimated you. You cost me one of Itachi's eyes. This is incredible. A hand caught Zabuza's neck. I have a hard time believing you can still stand, Amaterasu whispered, lifting the swordsman above the ground. The blood loss will kill soon, but you have fought with valor. Another katana appeared in his hand. Any last word, worthy warrior? The wounded soldier attempted to slash Amaterasu's face again, but the Uchiha avoided the blow. If so, I shall still offer you a warrior's death. Zabuza could only watch as his enemy raised his weapon and dropped him on the ground, a Rasengan hitting his back. Go to hell, Jiraiya spurted, as the Uchiha fell on the ground, his armor broken. The Sannin's body was charred with burns, yet he was not dead. You are still alive? Amaterasu asked, moving his head to the side to face his opponent. My fire should have killed you, yet you managed to sneak up on me. Ho! A Rasengan crushed his skull. The Sage Mode accelerated my recovery, and the Nadaime extinguished the flames. How? I don't know. As for how I sneaked up on you, long ago, I developed a jutsu giving me limited invisibility to sneak up on girls. And I'm not a good infiltrator for nothing. I know how to make no noise. To boot, the natural energy of the Sage Mode easily hides my chakra signature. He smirked. Another question, Mr. War Made Flesh. The corpse suddenly vanished. Pale, Jiraiya looked at the unharmed Uchiha, standing a few meters from the Sannin. His two eyes were now white. You damn spawn of the Senju. Amaterasu growled. I will break you so hard you won't stand anymore. I will shatter every bone in your body. A red light appeared in the skies, taking the appearance of a red Sharingan. Storm of blades. Hundreds of swords descended from heavens. Crap. Jiraiya cursed, seizing Zabuza's body and running to dodge the projectiles. How the hell can he still do that? I might not be able to warp space anymore, thanks to your seal, Amaterasu spat, but my pocket dimension can still do it on its own. I cannot use it to travel or absorb, but it can still work as an instant armory and weapon launcher. He is trying to locate us by sound, Zabuza realized, remembering his last battle with the man. That's how he guessed my position last time. Fortunately, Jiraiya is too experienced to fall for this. But he can't be stealthy while carrying me. His lone eye stared at the Sannin's face, conveying a clear message. Drop me. Biting his teeth, Jiraiya reluctantly obeyed. He then turned to face Amaterasu. Gate of opening, open. The Uchiha vanished, before reappearing a few meters from the two. The bastard punched the ground, shattering it utterly. He was obviously trying to hit his enemies randomly. Gate of healing, open. He moved again, and destroyed another part of the landscape with a kick. Gate of life, open. His body began to radiate with chakra. Gate of pain, open. Sinister white chakra winded around his body. Gate of limit. Open. Then, the Uchiha began to race. Like a red comet, Amaterasu randomly ran through the village, demolishing the remnants of houses and burning the soil under his feet. He's trying to hit us randomly, Zabuza thought. He will ram us and beat us to death. If the shock doesn't kill us first. His vision fading, the swordsman was helpless as he saw a red flash coming into his direction. And was stopped by Jiraiya. Almost knocked out by the resulting shockwave, Zabuza gaped. The Sannin's leg was next to his head, the man wrestling with the enhanced Uchiha. Sage mode must have increased his strength. This is incredible. The swordsman chuckled difficultly. Was I really worth it? In one powerful move, Amaterasu grabbed Jiraiya's neck, lifted him, and slammed the Sannin on the ground. Before he could react, Jiraiya received a kick in the face, drawing blood. The Uchiha stood over the man, a katana appearing in his left hand. He's going to kill him. Zabuza realized. He's going to kill him. And then, a picture of Haku being beheaded formed in his mind. He saw Amaterasu, wielding Yagura's face, laughing madly on a burning battlefield. Children were killing each other, people in red cloaks were slaughtering entire families, and the Sanbi was devouring the fallen. In the center of this madness, a whole mountain made of the corpses of the blonde brats Zabuza had trained, puppeteers, Kunoichi, the swordsman of Kiri. And atop it, Haku. Not even aware of what he was doing, Zabuza stood on his legs. His last forearm hanging useless, a shard of the beheading knife in his mouth, the swordsman observed Amaterasu slowly raising his weapon. Stealthily, Zabuza touched the fountain of blood he had called an arm with his broken blade. Drinking the red nectar, the shard grew, until it looked like a sword again. Silent killing, Zabuza thought, running toward Amaterasu. The Uchiha never heard him coming. The beheading knife connected with his chest, breaking through the armor, and harming the vital organs. Propelled backward, Amaterasu crashed on his back, his body covered with white blood. Never. Surrender. Zabuza rasped, the sword falling from his mouth. He stared at the very much bruised and shocked Jiraiya. Never. Give up. A powerful shockwave shook the earth. His legs failed him, and he fell. Fortunately, two hands caught him midway. Damn. Jiraiya whispered. I can't believe it. That was awesome. He stared at Amaterasu. And paled. Imitating him, Zabuza didn't feel his last eye widening. He had lost the sense of touch. Amaterasu was standing, blood flowing from his wound. Slowly, he walked toward them, one hand on his chest and the other raised. When he reached the two, his hand approached Zabuza's face. The Uchiha loudly fell on his back. Defeated. Astonishing. The Uchiha whispered. I could kill a Biju. And you two managed to beat me. To beat the unstoppable. He chuckled. Congratulations, worthy warriors. You won. You don't seem so surprised, Jiraiya replied at the dying Uchiha. No mental breakdown. I have prepared for my death, ever since I chose how to live my life. The Uchiha seized a portion of the ashes surrounding them, letting it flow through his fingers. A violent life leads to a violent death. The important thing is to die with meaning and honor. He stared at Zabuza, his eyes white. Just like we did. It could have ended differently, the Sannin stated. No, it couldn't have. Amaterasu stared at the sky. I was what remained of a dead era. My end was simply inevitable. Izuna made me promise on his deathbed to never renege on my loyalty to our code and honor. I followed this promise, even as my own clan turned to the ninja way, until the very end. That is all that matters. He chuckled. You realize the youngster is a lost cause, don't you? We will recuperate Kazama from you, the Sannin stated. It will only delay the inevitable. Amaterasu replied. The August Star will have him in the end, no matter what you do. With him, it shall restart the world back from zero, until everything has been remade in its image. The world of endless warfare I envisioned might come into being, with or without me to witness it. It will depend on his wishes. What the hell are you talking about? Zabuza whispered. I am foreseeing the future, just like Izuna. Maybe this is just a hallucination, but I can see her. Your apprentice. She will become a renowned warrior, and surpass even yourself, Momochi Zabuza. In the end, you made the right choice. You left a legacy. He chuckled. Unlike me. Fitting, I guess. Even if war is a powerful force, it has no future. His eyes widened, before closing. My last heart ceased to beat. Life is a battle, and I lost it. Izuna. Please, forgive your failure of a brother. The samurai's body turned to ashes, leaving only an empty armor and a katana behind. Old man, Zabuza grunted. Do you think I can survive? I can't feel my body. The Sanin's lack of answer was enough. I see, he chuckled, spitting blood. No pun intended. Don't die on me. Jiraiya growled, taking him in his arms. I still have the time to get you to your medic and beat some asses. Plus, your daughter would never forgive me. The broken man, Kakashi. Never before had watching Naruto's face been so painful. Here I go, sensei. The blonde with both the Sharingan and Rinnegan grinned wickedly, pointing his finger at his former teacher. The experienced Jonin sensed an invisible force pull him toward the blonde's direction. Sasuke jumped toward him midair, kunai in his hands. Forcing himself to move, Kakashi kicked his former Uchiha disciple in the face, and both hit the possessed Naruto as a result. Taking a step backward, Kakashi prepared to incinerate his students with a jutsu, until Sasuke locked eyes with him. Kakashi blinked. You want to ask a girl out? His student nodded. Sasuke was passively observing the scene. Their teacher was sweating. So it finally arrived. Kids, I am going to give a very important lesson today. Sit on the grass with me. They obeyed, ready to listen to their master's wisdom. The background was especially appropriated, a clearing under a big tree. The sage began to talk. When a boy and a girl love each other very much, well, they try to know each other, if you know what I mean. I don't, and I'm not sure I want to, Naruto stated. The second boy nodded. When they try to know each other's, the boy begins by saying, wanna make out, my bed is too cold, I want you to be with me, or, I want you to spend time with me. Then, they have to touch the skin of the other. Don't ask me why, it's a universal rule. Then, they must prepare with a kiss or two, and then it goes on naturally. I understand, Naruto shouted, as he rose up. I must go see Sakura, ask her to be with me, touch her, and then kiss her. That's what I must do, right? Kakashi nodded. At least, that's the secret the pervert prophet Chibaku revealed to me, once I offered him my banjo. I will have to thank him, the next time I see him, the blonde genin declared. He stared at his teammate and teacher. I feel ready, but can you please stay near me? If I screw up, you won't, the Junin said reassuringly. We're with you, Sasuke added. Thank you, Naruto declared. I will immediately go to Sakura. Memories defiling before his eyes, Kakashi stayed motionless, even as Sasuke's arm turned into a metallic cannon and lightened up. What is it, Naruto-kun? Sakura asked the blonde, as he approached her before Tezuna's house. Sakura, he started, apparently struggling to maintain a calm face. I want you to be with me, he managed to blurt out. The girl opened her mouth in surprise, blushing. What? He took her hands within his own, and kissed her on the lips, much to her astonishment. While Sasuke was only smirking, Kakashi was grinning widely under his mask. The couple stayed like that a moment, like statues, until they separated. Both were panting heavily. That was unexpected, Sakura muttered, as red as a tomato. But enjoyable. Yeah, Naruto said with difficulties. So what? Are you okay dating me? She smiled. But of course. Yes. He jumped on place. Yes. Kakashi imitated him. Chibaku's advice worked. I am so happy for you too. And I hope things will stay like that forever. Tears dripping from his eyes, Kakashi snapped out of the memories as a powerful beam of light was fired in his direction. The ninja stayed immobile, his Susanoo appearing to protect him from the attack. His heart broken, Kakashi stared at his two students, horrified by what he was about to do. Please, forgive me, his Sharingan began to bleed. Heavenly fire. Amaterasu. The two kids suddenly burst into black flames, and screamed, until their teacher was almost deafened. The shrieks shook the man to his very soul. Even as his students turned to ashes, the pain didn't leave. Enraged like never before, Kakashi tilted his head to the side, glaring at the responsible of this horror. The Uchiha, after punching the blue toad back to its home, was easily blocking Naruto and Yugito's blows, even as they were wrapped in clouds of charka, red for the former and blue for the latter. His ethereal armor shaped a Chidori in its hand, and Kakashi charged. Madara. The Uchiha looked at the source of the roar, and blinked. Shinra Tensai. As the ball of lightning almost connected with the asshole's head, Kakashi was suddenly propelled backward, just like Yugito and Naruto. Crashing on his back, the Jonin then felt something landing on the Susanoo's belly. I will kill you. Kakashi roared, as his armor's arms moved to crush the Uchiha. Do you have any idea of what you did to me? I forced you to destroy what you love the most. Madara blocked the Susanoo's hands with his own, and they began to shine. It was meant to be painful, and it worked perfectly. The Susanoo vanished in a blink of an eye, the chakra composing it absorbed by the Uchiha. Kakashi attempted to use the Amaterasu on his nemesis, but the madman put his right hand on the Junin's Sharingan, and his left on his victim's forehead. Ready to die. A powerful kick wreathed in blue chakra connected with his white mask, propelling him backward. Get up, Kakashi. Yugito stated, one tail of chakra moving in her back. She placed herself between the Junin and Madara, and Naruto joined her. We still have work to do. Foolish girl. The Uchiha roared, his hand transforming into a cannon. I am Susanoo, and I wield the Eye of the Gods. You cannot even hope to. Dynamic entry. Susanoo blinked, as the pervert Naruto fell from above and slammed his hand on the bastard's mask. Summoning Jutsu. A huge puff of smoke later, the pervert was standing atop a giant red toad, who himself was sitting on Susanoo. Hey, tadpole, I was taking off a nap. The toad boss Gamabunta grumbled. He stared below and noticed Kakashi. Hello, Kakashi, long time no see. He smirked when he noticed Yugito. Who's the cute girl next to you? Yugito ni, the blonde lady answered. You must be the legendary summon Gamabunta, I presume. The one and only. He chuckled. I'm also the boss of the tadpole standing on my head, by the way. Speaking of that, when will I get promoted to boss myself? When I will get crazy enough to appoint you as such, tadpole. He grunted, before looking at the ground. Hey, there is something under me. The giant toad was suddenly thrown in the air. He landed dozens of meters away, the resulting shockwave almost made a newly standing Kakashi fall on the ground. At the spot where Gamabunta had been, Susanoo was standing, surrounded by a blue, ethereal warrior. It looked like an armored knight, covered with spikes, and one of its eyes was glowing with a red light. I have had enough of all of you. The Uchiha roared, his armor's left hand turning into a bow and the second into a sword. Now, you face my true power. Look at your doom, and despair. I don't know who you are, guy, Gamabunta stated, unsheathing his blade. But these people are under my protection, so we'll have to get past me. Ready to kick his ass, tadpole. Let's rock. The pervert shouted. In a blink of an eye, Gamabunta jumped towards Susanoo. We have to get out of here. Yugito stated, as two giant blades met. Or else we might get caught in the crossfire. Kakashi nodded, but gave one last glare to the Uchiha. It's only a setback, Madara. I promise it. The puppeteer, Chibaku. His new puppets were awesome. Made of dead bodies, but awesome nonetheless. More. He shouted madly, as his two humanoid dummies unleashed a real sea of fire on Tsukiyomi. More fire. More burning. Flamethrowers are awesome. My chakra is better, the Kyuubi replied. Can't hear you, can't hear you. No, they aren't, Sasori stated, his wooden soldiers firing multiple missiles. He's absorbing the fire. Indeed. Space twisted, and the flames vanished. Tsukiyomi, however, didn't swallow the missiles. He simply moved out of the way. I remember what you did to my teammate last time we met. I suppose some seal was put on these projectiles to tamper my abilities. Why else would you use projectiles I can easily absorb? Who knows? Of course, Chibaku knew the Uchiha had guessed right. Sasori was just too mean to admit it. I have other tricks in my hand. I do not doubt it. The Uchiha absent-mindedly let the transformed kitsune get past him. The creature had attempted to bite him from behind, but only managed to land next to Chibaku, confused. Gaara and Haku fired multiple arrows of sand and shards of ice at the man, which also went through him. These attacks are pointless. Just tell me where the traveler is, and we will leave without harming anyone. A few weeks ago, I might have accepted, Sasori replied coldly. But that was before you killed one of my assistants. Before you trashed my priceless collection. Before you proved yourself to be completely untrustworthy. And, more importantly, before you tried to kill my legacy. Chibaku was completely shocked, as his teacher's usual stoic expression turned into one of rage. His legacy. Is he talking about me? Of course he is. I can't believe someone can be that dense. I prepared to fight you, Madara. The wooden soldiers' chests opened, revealing large cannons. So please, just die already. The cannons fired purple beams of light. They seemed to hit Madara, resulting in a large explosion and cloud of smoke. Whoa, Chibaku stated, impressed. What was that? Who cares? This jerk is finally dead. Beams of focused, concentrated chakra. Sasori frowned. He survived. Note to self, don't tempt fate again. Indeed, when the smoke cleared, Tsukiyomi was still standing, unfazed. But he wasn't alone. A purple, ethereal creature was surrounding him, sheltering him. It looked like a demonic humanoid with a devilish face, and a second one behind the first. The monster had 4 arms, and his fingers looked more like claws than anything. Its eyes were glowing with a yellow, sinister light. The whole chakra construct was radiating with a malevolent power. I see you have learned your lesson. Madara clapped. Indeed, focused enough, pure chakra is able to harm me. Very bright of you to have figured it out. I suppose the traveler's chains gave you this idea. Sasori didn't bother to answer. It is not polite to ignore your elders, youngster. Madara joined his hands, and much to Chibaku's horror, his armor did the same. 3 hand seals synchronized sequences. This is going to suck. Relax, I can make you recover from anything he can throw at you. Celestial Aster. Fire Star. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, the sky began to redden. A red ball of light fell from the sky toward them, like a bloody tear. It was shining, a miniature sun ready to burn the world. Or maybe not. I would have liked to say it has been an honor, rat, but it hasn't. At all. Suddenly, the comet exploded mid-air. Chibaku barely had the time to blink before a powerful explosion knocked him unconscious. The deceiver, Tsukiyomi. The destruction he brought down to Earth was impressive. When the small, icy rock from outer space exploded in the sky, it resulted in one of the most powerful explosions that had ever graced the land. The Earth was still shaking, and even Madara had difficulties remaining standing. The last time he had used this technique, aka when he invented it, the Uchiha had made the comet explode too late, almost killing himself in the process. Fortunately, he had done it in Sunagaku's desert, so nobody had noticed. The shockwave had razed the entire forest. No tree was left standing or remained unscathed. Most were burning, and blazes were quickly spreading, unleashing tons of smoke and ashes in the skies. That spectacle was simply marvelous. He could have done more damage, but his teammates and his prey were in the vicinity. Mikabashi would probably protect the latter, and the former would have survived the attack anyway, yes, but Madara hated to take unnecessary risks. This shockwave would have killed everyone in the vicinity, liquefying brains and annihilating bones. He would better be wary. Tsukiyomi tried to locate his opponents. Without Susanoo to protect them, they should have been killed, but he didn't want to leave a job unfinished. As long as he didn't find what was left of their corpses, the Uchiha assumed they were still alive. Hashirama had made a major mistake during their fight, not bothering to check out if his foe had survived or not. He would not imitate the Senju in that regard. And remarkably, they had survived. The ice user Susanoo told him about had created a huge, nigh unbreakable dome of ice around herself and her companions, shielding them from most of the conflagration. Yet, the shield was cracking and melting. Plus, the deceiver was pretty sure the shockwave had knocked most of them out. Deciding to finish at the fight right now, Madara mentally ordered his ethereal armor to attack. Yusaki Magatama, he spoke, as 4 arms formed a chain of chakra tomo. They whirled above its head before the Susanoo projected them at the dome. The resulting explosion shattered it utterly, revealing multiple unconscious bodies. Behind a growing mass of sand. You hurt my baby, the Shukaku growled, as it took its original form. The giant tanuki glared at the Uchiha. I will kill you. Madara simply snorted. People and creatures far stronger and determined than you told me that thousands of times already. You cannot even compare to them, Tanuki, so return to your seal like the good pet you are. Or else I will whip you into obedience. Die. The rabbit Biju opened its mouth, and unleashed a powerful blast of wind at the Uchiha. The Susanoo didn't even shake, unfazed by the attack. On a second thought, the whip is too good for you. Rabbit animals like you only deserve shackles. One of the Susanoo's arms turned into a long purple chain, which wound around the tailed beast's body, making it scream in surprise and rage. It tightened, and crushed the Shukaku, reducing to sand. Its female Jinchuriki fell on the ground, near her unconscious teammates. Briefly, Tsukiyomi stared at his counterpart, who was fighting the great Gamabunta. The giant toad had been too far away from the exploding star to take damage, and was evenly matching the self-proclaimed fatalist. The summon was currently using a cooperation jutsu with the unknown Naruto on his head, breathing fire at the very pissed Uchiha Lord. The combination between the boy and his summon was impressive. He had been trained well, but it wouldn't be enough. Knowing his counterpart would triumph soon, Tsukiyomi eyed his defeated opponents. Unwilling to face the possibility of them getting up, he ordered his Susanoo to form another Magamata. Nothing personal, he thought, firing his projectiles. It's just business. A white warrior put itself in harm's way, shielding the sleepy ninjas with its body. Tsukiyomi was slightly surprised, but more importantly, impressed. Already using the Susanoo, Kakashi. For a non-Uchiha, this is an exceptional feat. Keep your compliments for yourself, Hatake replied. Yugito Ni and the female Naruto were standing behind him, ready to attack. Just die. I just wanted to be polite, but if you do not care about praise, Madara made hand seals, imitated by his Susanoo's forearms. Fire release. Majestic fireworks. The Susanoo opened its mouth, and breathed a sea of blue fire toward Kakashi. His Susanoo stopped the attack, but Madara's Sharingan could see his enemy sweating. First rule about the Susanoo: it protects you from flames, but not from heat. Kakashi was nearly out of chakra, that much was obvious. Either the Susanoo ended and fire would roast the Jonin, or it would stand and Kakashi would be cooked. Win-win situation. But of course, one bloody creature clawed the Susanoo's head, making it flinch and stop the blaze. Madara had already seen Jinchuriki using the version 2 feat transformation, but Yugito was still something to behold in this state. The creature looked like a skinless cat, her flesh blue, her eyes yellow, her body radiating with power disproportional for her size, and two tails were balancing in her back. Simply making his armor flinch was impressive. Of course, the Susanoo simply punched her in the face in retaliation, propelling her a few meters away. Her back met the ground, shaping a little crater. It seems cats do not always land on their paws, Tsukiyomi thought, his armor easily stopping a punch from the female Naruto, who was clad in a red shroud of chakra, two tails behind her back. The Susanoo slapped her away and sent her crashing on Kakashi's own armor with enough strength to make it crack. The white warrior vanished, and both the Jonin and girl dropped on the ground, knocked out. Observing the red chakra receding, Madara then turned to face the newly standing Yugito. The blonde lady had retaken a humanoid appearance, but was still clad in a blue shroud of demonic chakra. Opening her mouth, she fired a huge cone of fire at Tsukiyomi. While the Susanoo protected him from the flames, he could sense the heat increasing. She figured it out. Tsukiyomi was impressed by the lady's brilliance. The Kunoichi had guessed what he had planned to do to Kakashi, and used the trick on its inventor. Unfortunately, it won't be enough. I shall show you what a true Kaiden master can do. Fire release. Blaze Eater. His Mangekyo Sharingan activated, summoning the flames of Amaterasu. The unnatural inferno began to devour Yugito's, almost reaching her mouth. When the lady interrupted the jutsu, taking a step back for good measure, one of the Susanoo's arms caught her and slammed her against the ground, knocking her unconscious. Dropping the body, Madara prepared to kill his defeated foes, when he detected a familiar chakra signature. So you indeed captured him, Amaterasu, he whispered to the masked monster walking toward him. It was holding the traveler in its threads. Very good. A jet of pressurized water hit the mask in its back, making it explode in a mix of blood and wood. Surprised, Tsukiyomi was propelled backward by a huge ball of water. He and his Susanoo landed on their back in a large cloud of ashes. They got up, just in time to see a ghost seizing the blonde and putting him on his back. Madara couldn't believe his own eyes, and lost his composure. Tobarama. You can call me Kubaiko, he replied, using only one hand to make seals. A tornado of water whirled under the Susanoo, making it fly. How is this possible? Madara wondered out loud, using a wind technique to float on the air and land peacefully. How can you be there, alive and standing, Senju? You are not the only one to have survived through ages. Summoning a large amount of water, the Nadaime Hokage transformed it into a torrent that slowly pushed Madara backward. I will correct this. Tsukiyomi was both enraged and delighted to see one of his deadliest foes alive. It will feel so good to crush you. The feeling is mutual. Mixing the water with the soil, Tobirama used it to cover the Susanoo, making it sink through the muddy ground. He was trying to bury Madara alive. I will finish what Hashirama started, years ago. Even Hashirama and his wife together couldn't defeat me now. Madara's Susanoo used its claws to get him out of the Nadaime's trap. Your brother striking me down made me stronger than ever. My endless hatred purged me of my flaws. My brother's love kept me determined and willful. He began another three-way hand seal sequence. My Susanoo is now empowered by my and Izuna's dreams. It cannot be broken, it cannot be defeated. I wouldn't say that. Another pest again. The newcomers were a half-burned man, holding a mortally wounded Zabuza Momochi in his arms. Jiraiya, Madara whispered, recognizing the person. What happened to Amaterasu? They can't have defeated him, no one could. Zabuza killed him. Jiraiya smirked, confirming Tsukiyomi's darkest fears. You're next. Amaterasu shall be avenged, Madara promised darkly, showing more anger than he did at the surprise appearance of the second Hokage. I will burn you to death and scatter your ashes all around the earth for killing my companion. I shall have the Shinigami eat your soul for threatening my student and guests, Jiraiya replied confidently. He turned to face Tobirama. Can you help him? I can only delay his death, the Nadaime replied, wavering his hand over the wounded swordsman. His flesh became clad in a gray energy, and the blood ceased to shed. The stasis will keep him alive until we find a medic to cure him. I won't leave you anything to repair, Senju. Fire release. Majestic firework. Madara's Susanoo unleashed the blast of blue fire at his enemies, hoping to burn them alive. The Nadaime pointed his palm toward the incoming fire, encasing it in gray energy again. The inferno stopped advancing. Time dilatation, Tobirama whispered, the blaze being completely extinguished. Both Jiraiya and Madara's surprise were obvious. Madara, if you are the undisputed master of space, Tobirama said, a helmet appearing in his hands. The faceless mask covering his head, his whole body became covered with the strange gray energy. No, you are facing the master of time. Suddenly, Tsukiyomi didn't feel so unbeatable anymore. As Jiraiya posed Zabuza on the ground, the Nadaime Hokage vanished. Or at least, began to move so fast even the Sharingan could barely see a gray blur. Before Madara could even react, Tobirama punched the Susanoo's face. The sheer speed made the resulting shock powerful enough to throw the ethereal warrior, and the man inside, on their back. The Nadaime Hokage jumped on the chakra construct, and began to punch it. Hundreds of lightning-fast blows per second began to make the Susanoo break. Heavenly fire. Kagutsuchi. The black flames of the Amaterasu covered the Susanoo, forcing the Nadaime to relent before he could shatter the unnatural armor. He jumped next to Jiraiya, the gray power leaving him. Tobirama was holding his chest, apparently in pain. I knew it. Madara got up, the Susanoo still ablaze. This technique is very dangerous for you, isn't it? You accelerate yourself to increase your speed, but at the same time, you must accelerate your aging. I doubt your withered body can hold the pressure for long, even with this armor. I assume you survived for so long by putting yourself into some kind of controlled stasis. He smirked behind his mask. The fact you didn't use this jutsu on me also indicates your power is not infinite. You can only completely control the time affecting yourself, and you have only a limited influence on the world surrounding you. The Nadaime tightened his fists. I guess I will have to try harder. You cannot defeat me, Tobirama. Tsukiyomi eyed the paralyzed Zabuza Momochi. Simply keeping this man alive must drastically reduce your abilities. Your allies are either unable to fight, wounded, or on the verge of being defeated. He stared at Gamabunta, whose body was covered by cuts. The toad was struggling to keep his enemy's blade from hitting the Naruto on his head. You cannot fight me and protect your wounded. And you cannot escape with all of them. Your actions will only delay your death. You have forgotten something, Uchiha. Jiraiya joined his hands. We have inherited the Shadaime's will of fire. A foolish ideal, and a crappy philosophy. This doesn't impress me. My will to power shall prevail. True strength doesn't lie in ambition or egoism, Madara, Tobirama said. True strength lies in helping others and protecting the young generation, Jiraiya added. even at the cost of your life. True strength lies in having a vision and realizing it, Tsukiyomi snapped. The end justifies all the means you need to make it a reality. Strength comes when you are not bound like a slave to a morality such as the will of fire, that promotes complete obedience to a place, an organization and a nation. It doesn't come from adherence to something as limited and subjective as morality. It comes by rejecting these illusions and replacing them by your own personal values, and to live by your own code of conduct. Only this true, unique will can give someone the power to change the world we live in. That is the will to power. So go ahead. His Susanoo roared. Use whatever jutsu, kamikaze attack or trick you have in stock. I will survive it, like I survived everything. You are nothing but an obstacle I shall overcome to realize my dream. I might be an obstacle, but you will die trying to overcome me. Jiraiya finished his technique. For my student Sake, I will kill you and your other self. Dead consuming seal. At this time, Tsukiyomi's Sharingan noticed a great, monstrous shadow forming in the Sanin's back, floating in the airs. No, the Uchiha growled in dread, realizing what was happening. You used the Yondaime's technique. You summoned the god of death. Who do you think taught it to him? Jiraiya smirked, charging toward his enemy. Madara prepared to defend his life with all his strength, his Susanoo being ready. He knew it was futile, the Shinigami certainly having the power to break through his armor, yet the Uchiha could always kill the Sannin and stop the technique, or he could just grab Naruto Uzumaki by surprise and escape. I will kill them another time, Tsukiyomi thought, as he prepared to teleport next to the blonde. Midway, the Sannin suddenly changed direction. What? Jiraiya shouted, as he jumped on Madara's unconscious prey and grabbed him by the collar. What is happening? Tobirama asked, putting a hand on the Sannin's shoulder, and being punched in the face for his trouble, falling on his back. I can't control my body. Jiraiya shouted, the shadow behind him piercing his back with ethereal claws. A huge, spectral purple arm emerged from the Sannin's belly and seizing the traveler's head. His eyes widening, Madara projected a fireball in the air, hoping his counterpart would see the signal and come at his help. Rushing, Tsukiyomi attempted to push back the possessed Sannin. Back off, Shinigami. This is bad. Very bad. What is happening? Madara's counterpart asked, materializing next to him. I was in the middle of a... He stopped, noticing the shadow in Jiraiya's back. Oh no. We must stop it before it kills the boy. Tsukiyomi shouted, his ethereal armor touching the spectral arm, and instantly vanishing. Your efforts are useless, spawn of the void. A disembodied, guttural voice whispered in their mind. Just wait for your turn. I shall devour the two of you soon enough. You think so? Susanoo spat, using the Shinra Tensei to push the god back, but nothing happened, much to his surprise. The Rinnegan is a gift from my kind to yours. It cannot be used against me. The Shinigami apparently grunted. To see one of the August Star's minions using it is disgusting, but it cannot compare to this boy. The spectral hand pushed its fingers in the blonde's forehead. A human, stealing my power and using it to its own ends. And sheltering our hated nemesis seed in his heart to boot. I cannot allow him to live and threaten the great tapestry of existence. I shall consume him. That is not going to happen. The Shinigami suddenly retired its arm, a sinister purple glow enveloping the blonde. I apologize, Shinigami, but this is not possible, the August Star whispered, its voice cold and emotionless. He is mine, now and forever. You cannot stop me, Dark Lord, the Shinigami rasped. Azanagi's decree prevents you from intervening yourself. You cannot directly influence reality. I might not be able to use my own powers in such situation, indeed. The blonde's belly began to shine. But it does not matter. For with my limited control of Naruto Uzumaki's seal, I can use yours instead. Madara barely had the time to blink, before a red light swallowed him, the people around him, and the entire world. Death. Enraged, the Shinigami could only watch helplessly as the August Star activated its stolen power, shattering the veil of reality so brutally a whole chunk of the land around them vanished, sent to all corners of reality. Death's power shielded the human called Jiraiya from being absorbed too, but the rest of the human present hadn't been so lucky. The August Star's spawns, the Biju holders, the disgusting abomination of wooden seals, the armored old man, they all vanished.